Chapter 2169. The courageous had no fear and charged forward courageously. The overcautious should not enter this bridge. Earlier, the disciples of the various large sects tried to leap up and reach the floating bridge 300 meters away. Without exception, they all died in the bottomless, absolute darkness of the 10,000 demon abyss. They probably all died. After that, no one dared to try again. They were all like Xiao Qin, thinking hard about how to step onto the floating bridge 300 meters away. Unfortunately, they thought too much and ended up sinking into it. The more overcautious and cautious they were, the more they could not see through the principles behind it. The Great Tao was the simplest. After understanding it, it was just courage. Perhaps some people thought of it, or perhaps some people thought that they understood it. The principles behind it were all courage. However, they did not dare to step forward, not daring to take that step that might cause them to fall. Hence, they only thought about it and did not see through it. No matter how many thoughts there were, if one was not confident and did not put them into practice, it would be useless. Only Xiao Qin was smart enough and confident enough. Why is it that the other outstanding talents have already stepped onto the floating bridge, but I have not? I, Xiao Qin, have fought along the way. In this faux god world, have I ever suffered a loss against any outstanding talents? Since that is the case, it is not that I, Xiao Qin, am stupid or that I, Xiao Qin, do not have sufficient comprehension ability. No one was stupid, especially the outstanding talents that could come to the faux god world. What they truly lacked was not comprehension ability but confidence. Coincidentally, pride and ambition were rooted in Xiao Qin's bones from the moment he stepped onto the martial Tao. They flowed in the depths of his blood, growing endlessly. Xiao Qin had never lacked confidence. With every step he took, a piece of ancient wood would appear out of thin air. Not long after, he had officially stepped onto the floating bridge that was 1,000 feet away. Whoosh! The instant Xiao Qin's feet landed, he felt as light as a feather. A hot-bloodedness to advance courageously burned in his body. The floating bridge under his feet was like wind, allowing him to move forward boldly. Whoosh! 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 The bedsheet fluttered like a cloak. Who dared to laugh at him? No one dared to. They only felt that this person had an indescribable pride and confidence. Even though his entire body was covered in bandages, it could not hide his sharpness. Damn it! I thought about it long ago. This floating bridge might be a test of courage. That's right. Actually, it is rather simple. You can't fly over, you can't use tricks, and you can't force your way over. This is clearly telling everyone that you can't be timid. Many people felt regret when they saw Xiao Qin moving like the wind. It looked like he was about to catch up to the other outstanding talents. However, what was the point of regret? This kind of regret only meant that they still hadn't seen through it. Overcautious and indecisive, they shouldn't step onto this bridge. Xiao Qin was already flying on the floating bridge, but the group of people behind him still stood at the edge of the cliff, hesitating. If we fall, we'll lose our lives. If we step on air, our lives will be over. Do we really want to gamble? Damn it. What if I am not as brave as Xiao Qin? Xiao Qin. Xiao God Xiao Qin Dragon Qin. While, but after seeing Xiao and he, seeing, Xiao, he. With, and. In the end, a miserable cry rang out. Gumu did not appear out of nowhere. Instead, he fell into the 10,000 demon abyss. This frightened the others into retreating quickly, their faces pale. If one is timid, one will not be able to cross this bridge. Only by being like Xiao Qin, having a fearless heart, can one truly cross it. This group of people showed conflicted and unsightly expressions. Even though they understood the principle, not many dared to cross. Not to mention this group of people, Xiao Qin walked on the floating bridge with a relaxed expression and light footsteps. The floating bridge meandered upward. It looked flat, but in reality, it climbed all the way to the primal chaos heavenly bridge. This was a heavenly bridge, a bridge that led to the heaven-bridging peak. In the scene outside the trial tower, the group of foe gods saw Xiaochen arrive first despite moving later. Unexpectedly, he silently took the lead. Even Yuanzhen, who comprehended the primal chaos heavenly bridge first, was surpassed by Xiaochen. This could be seen clearly in the scene. Xiaochen had already taking the lead and charging into the sky. Damn, this kid actually got first place. Gu Fei was in disbelief. He read it again before cursing, F***K, it's really first place. However, this is only the first step. The Tongtian Peak is not that easy to climb. This brat has offended so many people. I don't believe he can hold on. Lord Mu, it's really as you expected. The Heavenly Alliance elder said excitedly. Mu Zifeng said indifferently, there's no rush. It is as that lunatic Gu said. This is just the beginning. Finally, other people in the 10,000 demons abyss gathered their courage and stepped onto the floating bridges. However, with this delay, these people would definitely not be as fast as Xiao Chen and the group of false emperor outstanding talents. Actually, from this, it could already be seen that the false emperor outstanding talents were indeed superior to the others. Those who could be called heavenly geniuses in the foe god realm were not weak. At this moment, Xiaochen felt a little strange. The floating bridge gradually rose into the sky. He felt like he could touch the sticky, primal chaos sky just by stretching out his hand. However, it also felt extremely distant, right before his eyes but untouchable. While it was strange, Xiaochen still continued forward until he reached the end of the bridge. A 7-colored whirlpool with overwhelming spiritual energy appeared at the end of the floating bridge. Without hesitation, Xiaochen strode forward and entered the whirlpool. Others could not see the whirlpool. They only felt that Xiaochen had reached the end of the floating bridge. Then, his figure entered the sky, never to be seen again. This is the scene before Xiaochen's eyes suddenly changed. The sky was gray, and the world around him was dark. A cold wind howled in this world. Corpses were buried in the desolate land. Dilapidated ships half buried in the ground and blood-stained war banners stretched as far as the eye could see. Broken skeletons were everywhere. Every skeleton gave off a startling aura, expressing boundless dissatisfaction. As the cold wind blew, the dissatisfaction, rage, and hatred all turned into roars. As the cold wind howled in the desolate land, it felt like they had existed for millions of years. Xiaochen turned solemn, showing a grave expression. Where did these skeletons come from? Why did the heaven-bridging peak give off overwhelming resentment and evil winds? A mountain peak stood not far away in front of Xiaochen. The mountain peak towered into the clouds. However, it seemed like another world was in the sea of clouds. The heaven-bridging peak. Needless to say, this was the heaven-bridging peak. A familiar yet unfamiliar feeling assaulted Xiaochen. Xiaochen's heart skipped a beat. He immediately found it strange. It is normal for it to be unfamiliar. Why do I find it familiar? Just as Xiaochen was feeling confused, deep in thought, a dazzling Buddhist light burst forth from the dark world. A dazzling Buddhist light burst out of the dark world. The solemn and dignified Yuanzhen, who had a benevolent expression on his face, quickly followed, appearing in this God-conferred world. Xiaochen, your attire is rather eye-catching. Although the people of my Buddhist sect do not care about the gazes of the secular world, there is no one as bold as you. Yuanzhen said with a smile as he looked at Xiaochen. Xiaochen asked, you recognized me? That is natural. Others do not recognize you and cannot guess your identity. However, the Buddhist nature in your body cannot be hidden. No matter how much you change, you cannot escape my pair of wise eyes of the Buddhist sect. Yuanzhen smiled faintly, appearing calm. Then, he casually looked at the surrounding skeletons. The smile on Yuanzhen's face slowly faded as he sighed softly. The path to becoming a god is very bumpy. These countless skeletons are the faux god powerhouses who died on the god-conferring platform since the heaven-bridging peak was established. The god-conferring platform? That's right. The God-conferring platform is at the top of this heaven-bridging peak. In the past, before the heavenly realm shattered and the heaven-bridging peak broke, all the foe gods of the world had to go there. After going to the God-conferring platform and undergoing the divine tribulation, one could return to the true state and become an eternal true god. Unfortunately, this path is not easy to tread. Who knows how many skeletons have been buried and how many heroes have died in the past 1,000,000 years. In the past, this heaven-bridging peak was even more difficult to tread than it is now. There are 3 calamities and 9 tribulations, 3 minor calamities, 3 major calamities, 9 minor tribulations, and 9 major tribulations. Not a single one is missing. Xiaoqun said after some thought, "You really know a lot. After speaking so much nonsense, do you not intend to ascend the God-conferring platform?" Yuanjun pressed his palms together, and a solemn look flashed in his eyes. Then, he said seriously, "There's no need. The heaven-bridging peak no longer has a divine nature, and the God-conferring platform is already broken. How can it truly become a god? It will just increase my cultivation a little and give me some comprehension. Before I came here, I already discovered that the skeletons here are all heroic spirits. Buddha is merciful. Although this little monk is weak, no matter how many I receive, it is all merit. You can go and climb this peak. We both have our own karma." Xiaoqun smiled coldly in his heart. Looking at Yuanjun's solemn expression and his merciful appearance, others might really be fooled. However, Xiaoqun was familiar with Yuanjun's character. He retorted in disdain, "Speak properly. Stop pretending." Yuanjun felt somewhat embarrassed. He coughed a few times and said, "There must be a senior of my Buddhist sect among these countless skeletons. If I can find an ancient Saraira, it will be much more beneficial than climbing the God-conferring platform." Xiaoqun did not believe the words of this monk, not even a single punctuation. Since Yuanjun was willing to remain at the foot of the mountain, there was no need to care. Xiaoqun still wanted to climb the heaven-bridging peak and climb the God-conferring platform. Xiaoqun wanted to gamble on an opportunity on the God-conferring platform, an opportunity that Lu Benwei mentioned to him. Whoosh! 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 Just at this moment, Mu Yunzhu, Chu Feng, Gu Yuhan, and the other false emperor outstanding talents arrived one after another. These people glanced at Xiaoqun, and a murderous intent flashed in their eyes. However, no one said anything to him. After they appeared, they immediately looked at the heaven-bridging peak. Without saying anything, they quickly rushed over. Xiaoqun smiled coldly in his heart. Without saying anything, he leaped up and climbed the heaven-bridging peak as well. Yuanjun's gaze landed on the countless skeletons. Then, he placed one hand on his chest and bowed. "Buddha is merciful." Excellent, excellent. Chapter 2170. Yuanjun recited his Buddhist name and started chanting scriptures in this burial ground. A lotus appeared under Yuanjun's feet, carrying him through the boundless corpses. Who knew if he was searching for something or if he was really speculating in stocks and accumulating beneficence? Regardless of what this person was thinking, the focus of Paradise's final trial would definitely be on that heaven-bridging peak. The false emperor outstanding talents of the various super factions all climbed the heaven-bridging peak, wanting to be the first to stand on the God-conferring platform. Without a doubt, whoever could truly occupy the God-conferring platform would be the greatest winner of Paradise. Whoosh! 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 The disciples of the Heavenly Alliance, Bushan Palace, the Universe Origin Sect, the Profound Heaven Holy Land, and the other super factions appeared one after another in the burial ground. Soon, they flew towards the heaven-bridging peak. Soon, the heaven-bridging peak was filled with people. Hundreds of outstanding talents of the 5 super factions gathered here, climbing to the summit. However, the ones truly at the front were Xiaoqun and the other false emperor outstanding talents. These people were all chasing after them. The latecomers did not even get to see their backs. Everyone wanted to climb the God-conferring platform quickly, wanting to gain the chance to comprehend the Tao, soar their cultivation, and improve their strength. However, how could the heaven-bridging peak be so easy to climb? Although it no longer had any divine nature, the might and pressure from the remnant divine might was not something that a sovereign personage could easily resist. Occasionally, illusions of the 3 calamities and 9 disasters appeared. These were not the 3 calamities and 9 disasters that foe gods had to experience, just illusions that existed in the river of time. However, to Xiao Chen and the others, the heaven-bridging peak was still filled with danger. Even if Gu Yuhan and the others wanted to seek trouble for the strange person here, even if they knew that he snatched that 100,000-year-old herb king, they would not be able to divert their attention to settle the score with Xiao Chen. For now, Gu Yuhan and the others would not be able to divert their attention to settle the score with Xiao Chen. As Xiao Chen walked between the peaks, he had an easier time than the others. His blue dragon divine body, which he had already awakened once, held an advantage here. Originally, Yuanzhen cultivated the indestructible iron body. In terms of strength, his Arhat Dharma body was even stronger than Xiao Chen's divine body. Unfortunately, for some reason, this monk did not want to climb the peak. Without Yuanzhen, no one could surpass Xiao Chen. Hundreds of people climbed the heaven-bridging peak. The various false emperor outstanding talents were far in the lead. Then, Xiao Chen took the lead, leading the other false emperor outstanding talents. Outside the trial tower, the expression of the profound heaven holy lands Gu Fei already turned somewhat unsightly. Who would have thought that such a situation would happen to the bet that they were sure to win? Mu Zifeng smiled faintly and said, "Lunatic Gu, it looks like I have some chance of winning this bet. I'm afraid it was too early for you to be complacent before." Gu Fei snorted, the show has only just begun. If he could stand on the conferred god platform and ignite the divine flame, then he would have won. Just standing there and not getting any benefits at all before being blasted off was not something to be proud of. Besides, none of the 3 calamities and 9 disasters have appeared yet. Our lead doesn't count. Light flashed in Mu Zifeng's eyes as he said indifferently, "I know what you are thinking. However, let's wait and see who will have the last laugh. This weirdo really got first place." Indeed. If he had not spent some time talking to Yuanzhen, he would probably have gone even further. Although he's in the lead now, he's not really in the lead. He's mainly relying on the advantage of his physical body. However, the later tribulations were not something that could be passed by relying on the advantage of one's physical body. At that time, the others will be able to display their advantages, and they might have a chance to overtake us. Yes, let's continue watching. This bet is really interesting. I thought I would definitely lose, but who would have thought that this strange person would actually come out and kill me? Although the group of foe god powerhouses did not like Xiao Chen, they did not like him. However, in the depths of their hearts, they felt admiration for him for being able to get first place. Furthermore, the bridge of the brave that he walked was much more difficult than the bridges of the false emperor geniuses. The 3 calamities and 9 tribulations are here. Someone exclaimed softly. Then, on the light screen, countless flaming clouds gathered at the top of the heaven-bridging peak. In the next moment, the entire sky was filled with flames as if doomsday had arrived. It was the first of the 3 calamities and 9 calamities, doomsday fire. Of course, this was just an illusion that came from the flow of space-time and not the true flaming doomsday. If it were real, not to mention a sovereign personage, even a foe god would find it hard to block it. The appearance of the doomsday fire was a test and an opportunity for many people. There was no need to say much about the test. In the face of the doomsday fire, no one dared to take it lightly. If Xiao Chen didn't handle it well, it would be a great opportunity to overtake him. Boom! Almost as soon as the fiery clouds appeared, the doomsday fire descended with a loud rumble. No one on the peak of Tongtian could avoid it. However, there was a difference in order of priority. The first to bear the brunt was naturally Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen's expression did not change. He was already prepared for this, and he quickly untied the bedsheets. Xiao Chen used the Ice Dao domain to support the bedsheet. The bedsheet immediately turned snow-white like frost. When it covered the body, it instantly felt bone-chilling. Just enough to offset the terrifying power of the doomsday fire. The entire sky-piercing peak turned into a blazing mountain of flames in the doomsday fire. Many of the people who grasped the fire Great Dao immediately showed cocky expressions. These people all spread out their fire Dao domains and instantly felt much more relaxed. They could even refine the doomsday fire. Not only did they not suffer any injuries, but they even benefited from it. Only an illusion would dare to refine it like this. If it were a real doomsday fire, even a faux god would not dare to take it lightly, much less refine it. Naturally, the people who did not grasp the fire Great Dao naturally showed extremely unsightly expressions. Not to mention advancing, even holding on would be a problem. At this moment, the ones who felt the most pleased were naturally the Bushan Palace's Chu Feng and Feng Xiaobai. A flame mark burned on the two's foreheads. That was the mark of the universe origin true flame that had been passed down for 1,000,000 years. Compared to Xiao Chen's universe origin true flame, these two's universe origin true flame had more spirituality and charm. Xiaobai, use this opportunity to surpass that strange person in one go. If you are confident, help me delay him, Chu Feng said seriously as a sharp light flashed in his eyes. Chu Feng wanted to sacrifice Feng Xiaobai at the crucial moment to help himself. Feng Xiaobai felt somewhat dissatisfied. However, the other party was a member of the royal court and held a higher status than him. There was no need to overthink it. Feng Xiaobai felt somewhat dissatisfied. However, the other party was a member of the royal court, someone with a higher status than him. There was no need to overthink it. If there's an opportunity, I'll make a move. The two seemed to have divine assistance in the flames. They immediately shook off the other false emperor outstanding talents and frantically chased after Xiao Chen. These two guys have too much of an advantage now. I'm afraid they're going to surpass that weirdo. Bushan Palace's Xiahou Zun said somewhat gloomily as he watched Chu Feng and Feng Xiaobai rush past him. Feng Xiaobai, who was at the side, smiled coldly and said, "There's no rush. The 3 calamities and 9 disasters have just begun. It will not be that easy for the universe origin sect to have the last laugh. If the two of them were to fight with that weirdo, we would be the ones laughing. Yes, let's be careful. This is the first calamity, so let's focus on stability. Don't use your trump cards for now." Thud thud thud. Chu Feng and Feng Xiaobai ran wildly through the surging Armageddon calamity. However, they were shocked to discover that Xiao Chen was not much slower than them. What's going on? Chu Feng's expression could not help changing drastically. If they could not catch up to Xiao Chen, they would not have a chance when the second calamity arrived. Feng Xiaobai heaved a sigh of relief. He was not confident of fighting with this strange person in this flaming mountain. If they were not careful, they might fall off the heaven-bridging peak. World exterminating lightning calamity. While the two were stunned, the Armageddon fire scattered, and the second calamity, the world exterminating lightning calamity, quickly descended. Suddenly, thousands of purple lightning bolts descended outside the heaven-bridging peak. From the outside, this heaven-bridging peak looked resplendent and dazzling. The entire peak bathed in the lightning tribulation, giving off a dazzling purple light. Whoosh! Whoosh! As the lightning bolts descended, the frost on the snow-white bedsheet covering Xiao Chen scattered, looking like white snow falling off. He silently spread out his peak third-layer Thunder Dao domain. To Xiao Chen, dealing with this world-exterminating lightning calamity was even easier than dealing with a fire. Chu Feng and Feng Xiaobai had just blocked the lightning bolts. When they looked up, they could not even see Xiao Chen's back. They did not know how far they had been left behind. Just at this moment, flute music rang out. It was Gu Yuhan holding the flute. When he played it, he could actually control lightning. Not only did the lightning fail to stop him, but it even aided him, allowing him to ascend the heaven-bridging peak. Soon, Gu Yuhan saw Xiao Chen's figure, and the murderous intent in his eyes immediately turned cold. When Gu Yuhan thought about the scene of Xiao Chen fooling him in the herb field, he could not suppress the murderous intent in his heart. Why is this fellow not moving? However, Gu Yuhan found it strange that Xiao Chen, who had been moving very fast, suddenly stopped, appearing to be in a daze. At this moment, Xiaochen felt shocked as he looked at the heaven-bridging peak bathed in lightning and dazzling purple light. He finally understood why the heaven-bridging peak felt both familiar and strange at first glance. This sense of familiarity came from the azure mountain with a broken dragon head in the desolate sea. Chapter 2171. When he first saw the sky-piercing peak, he felt a sense of familiarity and unfamiliarity. At that time, he felt puzzled. However, when Yuanjun appeared and got interrupted, Xiaochen did not overthink. Now that he was climbing higher and higher, that familiar feeling was getting stronger and stronger. It was only when the entire mountain was illuminated by lightning that Xiaochen remembered the blue dragon's old haunt, the green mountain that had lost its dragon head. As he thought about it, Xiaochen was instantly stunned. Could it be that the green mountain was one of the broken sky-reaching peaks? But, although the sky-piercing peak in front of him was incomparably frightening, it was still a heavenly tribulation. However, its divinity clearly remained, and its spirituality was still present. It was majestic and magnificent, causing others to feel deep veneration and not dare to profane it. However, the headless blue dragon mountain in the blue dragon haunt was a demonic mountain, a mountain that almost made him become a demon. For a moment, Xiaochen was shocked. He was trying to figure out what was going on. That day, when he climbed the mountain, he instantly fell into a demonic trance. Today, when he ascended the conferred god platform, would the same thing happen again? If he were to fall into the demonic path in front of everyone, it would be disastrous. He really did not know what the consequences would be. While he was distracted, Xiaochen fell into deep thought and hesitated. Buzz! Suddenly, the sound of a flute rang in his ears. Boundless killing intent assaulted him, and Xiaochen was jolted awake. The bedsheet condensed into a saber, and he turned around and slashed. This slash happened to merge with the Daoist rhyme of the apocalyptic lightning tribulation. Although Xiaochen was in a daze, in reality, his Thunder Dao domain had been spreading out. Without needing to get distracted, he could merge with the heaven-bridging peak's lightning calamity. Boom! This slash happened to strike at the same time as the doomsday lightning disaster. Taking advantage of the timing and location, this slash was ridiculously powerful. Gu Yuhan's face sank. He had no choice but to stop playing the flute as his figure weaved through the electric light. In the blink of an eye, strands of energy condensed from divine energy shot out. So. With a flick of his finger, he shot out a total of 9 rays of light, destroying all the descending purple lightning. However, the saber light containing the purple lightning did not scatter. Gu Yuhan had to move back. On this heaven-bridging peak, I have the advantage of favorable timing and favorable location. Don't even think about taking advantage of me. The remnant divine might in the heaven-bridging peak was oppressive. It was fine if one did not advance, but once one retreated, the pressure would increase explosively. Gu Yuhan showed an unsightly expression as the divine might pushed him back repeatedly. At the same time, he had to dodge the world annihilation lightning calamity. In an instant, his nimble figure turned into a sorry figure. Rumble. A few dangerous bolts of tribulation lightning forced Gu Yuhan to roll around on the mountain peak before he managed to dodge them by a hair's breadth. Ha ha ha. Brother Gu's movement technique is excellent. To think that you, the bona fide profound heaven holy land's outstanding talent, practiced the lazy donkey roll so skillfully. Gu Yuhan stood up and looked. Unexpectedly, he landed beside the universe origin sects Chu Feng and Feng Xiaobai. The one who sneered was the universe origin sect's Chu Feng, who looked at him with a smile. Courting death. Gu Yuhan had a cold and aloof personality. Without saying anything, he leaped up and charged at Chu Feng. Feng Xiaobai and Chu Feng felt stunned. Unexpectedly, this person had such a decisive character. With just one teasing, he wanted to kill. This was the heaven-bridging peak. However, the two did not fear it. No matter how strong this Gu Yuhan was, he would only be sending himself to death. Senior brother, don't be impatient. Just at this moment, Mu Yunzhu appeared and quickly stopped Gu Yuhan. Gu Yuhan still showed some respect to his fellow sect member. He turned around and withdrew his killing move. Chu Feng and Feng Xiaobai heaved a sigh of relief in their hearts. Although they were not afraid of fighting, Chu Feng was not afraid. Although they were not afraid of fighting, if they really fought, the two would not be able to continue climbing the heaven-bridging peak. Senior brother, the person wrapped in bandages is Xiao Chen. Mu Yunzhu said as he looked at Gu Yuhan. What? Feng Xiaobai exclaimed in disbelief, his expression changing drastically when he heard that. If it is not him, who else could it be? A cold laugh rang out. It was Bai Yunfei rushing over with Xiahou Zun beside him. Bai Yunfei growled, "You're all a bunch of idiots. Think about the Void God realm. Aside from Xiao Chen, who else possesses the dragon race bloodline, is skilled with the saber, and grasps the Thunder Great Dao and the Ice Great Dao? However, didn't he fail to form a perfect divine seal and suffer a backlash? Furthermore, why is Xiao Chen dressed so strangely, coming out wrapped in a bedsheet?" Mu Yunzhu said, "Brother Bai and I discussed this earlier. Previously, he did not make a move much. Furthermore, he dressed strangely. Furthermore, even if we suspected him, we would not have expected him to be Xiao Chen. However, after thinking about it carefully, among the Faux God World disciples, aside from Xiao Chen, no one matches his identity. Actually, they should have thought of this long ago. However, Xiao Chen's current attire was simply too strange. Furthermore, they had already received news that Xiao Chen failed to form a divine seal, so they did not think about it. Now that they came to their senses, the more they thought about it, the more they felt that it was Xiao Chen. Damn it. Had I known that it was him, I would have taken his life in the herb field. To think that this fellow dares to appear." Feng Xiaobai cursed, unable to hide his rage. Bai Yunfei looked at the heaven-bridging peak and said, "If that baldy Yuanzhen did not come, no one will have an advantage over him on this heaven-bridging peak. He already obtained two of the advantages of the right time, the right place, and the right people. He will probably monopolize the benefits of this God-conferring platform." "What do you mean?" Bai Yunfei replied indifferently, "Although there are conflicts and gaps between us, we clearly only have one common enemy. If we do not work together and fight on our own, we will not be able to catch up. If we work together, given our strength, there is no need to fear the 3 calamities and 9 disasters." The group remained silent. Working together meant splitting the benefits of the God-conferring platform equally. However, everyone here wanted to monopolize it. Otherwise, they would be able to benefit as well. That way, they would not be able to widen the gap between them. However, the higher Xiao Chen went, the indistinct his back was no longer visible. If they did not work together, they would only benefit him. "Senior brother, what do you think?" Mu Yunzhu sent a voice projection as he looked at Gu Yuhan. Gu Yuhan sent a voice projection back, "We cannot trust these people. This is especially so for that Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei. These two are very scheming. We can work with them, but we have to hold back ourselves. When the time comes, we will act according to the situation. If there is an opportunity, you and I will monopolize the God-conferring platform." Senior brother's thoughts are about the same as mine. Chu Feng is still fine. However, that Bai Yunfei experienced 2 calamities along the way. However, he did not use any trump cards. He is especially terrifying. After the voice projection ended, Mu Yunzhu said, "Senior brother and I have finished discussing this. The heaven-bridging peak has only cleared 2 of the 3 calamities and 9 disasters. If we do not work together, we will not be able to catch up to Xiao Chen." "I agree as well." A meaningful look flashed in Chu Feng's eyes as he smiled faintly. "Good. In that case, let's work together to clear the 3 calamities and 9 disasters." Hence, this group of people with ulterior motives and plans decided to work together to deal with Xiao Chen. Outside the trial tower, the group of faux god powerhouses exchanged glances, showing somewhat unnatural expressions. Mu Zifeng guffawed, "Ha ha ha. Interesting. This seems to be the first time the disciples of the Universe Origin sect, the Profound Heaven Holy Land, and the Bushan Palace worked together to deal with my heavenly alliance since it was established. Compared to the other super factions, the Heavenly Alliance was weaker in the first place, ranked at the bottom. If the disciples of the other super factions worked together, even if they lost this bet, the Heavenly Alliance's reputation would not be affected at all. Instead, it would boost the Heavenly Alliance's reputation. At that time, it would be a Heavenly Alliance disciple fighting 3 super factions alone. Useless thing. Gu Fei felt somewhat embarrassed, so he could not help cursing in his heart. However, he did not show it. He smiled coldly and said, "What are you feeling cocky for? Let's see if you can still smile when this Xiaochen falls to his death on the heaven-bridging peak." Mu Zifeng knew that Gu Fei was feeling righteous, so he did not mind. He smiled and said, "Haha. You are overthinking. If he is really a member of my Heavenly Alliance, he will have the alloy battle armor protecting him. Even if he falls off this heaven-bridging peak, he will not die. You should worry about the 2 disciples of your profound heaven holy land. If they fall, I wonder if the ancient profound heaven sword can save them." Humph. Gu Fei snorted coldly and did not say anything more. Before this bet ended, he had already lost most of it. Even if he won in the end, it would be pointless. The 6 false emperor outstanding talents on the heaven-bridging peak each had their own merits. When they worked together, they were truly unstoppable. The 3 calamities and 9 disasters appeared one after another, but they could not stop this group's progress. They immediately left the people behind far behind. Xiao Chen. 4 hours later, the 6 eyes lit up. They finally saw Xiao Chen's figure. The 6 immediately felt excited, unable to hide the excitement in their eyes. After him. If we put in more effort, we will be able to catch up to him in less than 1 hour. At this moment, the 6 were less than 3 kilometers away from the God-conferring platform. When Xiao Chen sensed the surging auras behind him, he turned his head back to look, and a strange look appeared in his eyes. To think that the 6 false emperor outstanding talents were working together. "Xiao Chen, if you stop here, we can write off the grudge between us. That dog of a son, Xiao Chen, why are you still not revealing your true form? Do you think you can fool us by pretending to be crazy? Quickly stop. Otherwise, you will fall on this God-conferring platform today." The 6 below felt excited. However, they also felt somewhat anxious and worried, as they were not far from the God-conferring platform. They figured it out. Xiao Chen was not surprised. If this group of outstanding talents still could not figure out his identity at this time, they would be stupid enough to eat shit. He is not moving anymore. This fellow is frightened. When we catch up to him later, everyone will attack together and destroy him. Damn it. Previously, when he worked with that bald monk in the ice-fire wasteland, he fooled us badly. Seeing that Xiao Chen suddenly stopped moving in front, the 6 expressions immediately became excited, and their auras soared. Only Gu Yuhan felt somewhat confused. Earlier, Xiao Chen had been like this as well, hesitating to move forward. However, when Xiao Chen turned around and chopped down, Gu Yuhan fell. Gu Yuhan, who thought that his sneak attack would succeed, ended up suffering greatly. "Junior brother, be careful. There is something strange about this fellow. He is definitely not frightened." Gu Yuhan did not remind Gu Yuhan. The 4 beside him sent voice projections to Mu Yunju. Feeling suspicious, Mu Yunju replied, "Yes. Given my understanding of him, he should not be like this. But why did he stop like this? Just wait and see. If he is really stupid, don't give up on the opportunity to make a move." Whoosh. 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 The 6 attacked again, all of them moving faster. Clearly, they had held back when they worked together earlier. Xiao Chen was getting closer and closer to the God-conferring platform. However, Xiao Chen did not reveal any of his trump cards. The 6 knew this but kept it a secret. They only increased their speed, not willing to fall behind. To go up or not? If Xiao Chen went up, he would be able to reach the God-conferring platform in 3 steps if he burst out with his full power. If he did not, he would turn around and leave, avoiding these 6. His life would not be in danger. Xiao Chen had gained a lot in paradise, so there was no need to find it too unfortunate. He did not need to reach the God-conferring platform and search for an opportunity to soar into the sky. However, the scene of him falling into a berserk Dao at the summit of the Azure Mountain appeared in Xiao Chen's mind. This made the usually decisive Xiao Chen hesitate. If Xiao Chen reached the God-conferring platform and fell into a berserk Dao as well, even Mu Zifeng would not be able to protect him. Difficult. This path is difficult as ascending to the sky. In the time it took for a spark to fly, the 6 false emperor outstanding talents closed in. There was not much time left for Xiao Chen. Chapter 2172. The 6 false emperor outstanding talents could not be bothered with these thoughts in the time it took for a spark to fly. As they moved, they slowly approached Xiao Chen, their eyes overflowing with killing intent. Why isn't this weirdo moving? Do you want to die? We're only 10,000 feet away from stepping onto the divine seal altar. What are you hesitating for? Xiao Chen wasn't anxious, but the spectators outside the training grounds were anxious. They all shook their heads and sighed, not understanding what was going on. Even Mu Zifeng felt very confused at this moment, revealing some anxiety in his eyes. If you don't leave now, you won't be able to leave even if you want to. Mu Zifeng immediately felt uncertain. Even with the alloy battle armor protecting him, 6 false emperor outstanding talents surrounded him. Life and death were really hard to predict, everything was hard to say. At the same time, the disciples below the sky-piercing peak who were gradually catching up also saw this scene. Although they were still very far away and the divine might suppress them, they were all heaven-defying sovereign personages, their vision was not restricted. Looking into the distance, he could still see the scene in the distance. The leader is actually that weirdo. Zhang Yushan's injuries were almost healed. When he saw Xiao Chen, who was high up in the sky, he immediately felt his face hurt. He hated this Xiao Chen to the core. He had slapped him so many times that he was hovering between life and death. He had lost all his face. Senior brother, why do you think that eccentric person isn't moving? If we don't, then senior brother Gu and the others will catch up to us. At that time, only death awaits us. The 2 junior brothers watched from the side, puzzled. Zhang Yushan gritted his teeth and said, "It's good that he's dead. It'd be best if he falls off this Tongtian peak. I'll definitely jump down and stomp on him a few times." The 2 junior brothers looked at each other in dismay. Ever since their senior brother was slapped into a pig's head, his brain had not been working well. This was the Tongtian peak. It was hard to climb up, but even harder to descend. With the presence of the divine might, how could they jump just because they wanted to? Be careful that before others fell to their deaths, they would be smashed into meat paste first. Let's go, let's go. I want to see how a bunch of people beat up that dog. Zhang Yushan was burning with anxiety. He mustered his strength and wanted to take a look as soon as possible. Xiao Chen already imagined the scene of the 6 false emperor outstanding talents beating this strange person up like a dog. If he had the chance, he might even step on them a few times to vent his anger. Divine Seal Altar. Xiao Chen gazed at the top of the mountain. To him, the height of 1,000 zhang was as if it was right in front of him, and he could see it clearly. The auras of the 6 false emperor outstanding talents grew increasingly closer. Xiao Chen even felt a stabbing killing intent behind him. Sharp, cold, and icy. If there was a chance, these people would take his life in an instant. They would not be lenient. Xiao Chen closed his eyes, allowing the cold wind to surge around him, allowing the murderous aura behind him to surge, allowing his thoughts to drift, only seeking to empty his mind. To me, going up or not is actually a false proposition. Once he went up, he would not be able to suppress the demonic aura in his body, and he would reenact the scene at the peak of Green Mountain, turning into a demon under the moonlight. If that really happened, there was no doubt that he would die. The various super factions would not tolerate a person who cultivated a demonic technique appearing in the faux god world. If they treated him as a spy of the demonic path, then they could kill him as they wished. There wouldn't be any problems. Therefore, the real question in his heart was not whether to go up or not, but whether he was afraid of death. How stupid, Xiao Chen suddenly scolded himself. It was best not to step on this bridge because he had chosen a heavenly bridge that tested his courage. From the moment Xiao Chen stepped onto the bridge of courage, his heart already gave him the answer. If he went up this divine seal altar, then so be it. There was no need to worry so much. Not to mention whether he would fall into the demonic path or not, so what if he did? With a clear conscience, there was no need to care about what others thought. It was just like how Xiao Chen was now wrapped in a bedsheet, not caring about what others thought. Xiao Chen opened his eyes, and a brilliant light flashed in them, revealing a sharp light. Boom! Resplendent electric light burst out of Xiao Chen's body, looking as piercing as the sun. Whoosh! The piercing electric light startled Chu Feng and the others. They squinted, finding it extremely strange. Surround him. This fellow is probably making a breakthrough in some secret technique. When the six saw the situation, they were slightly stunned. Then, they soared into the air and charged at that clump of resplendent electric light. When the light scattered, they saw a person wearing alloy battle armor. His handsome face looked like it had been carved with a knife. He looked very handsome and heroic, exuding a tyrannical air. Who else could that face be but Xiao Chen? Xiao Chen. Indeed, it is you. I will definitely kill you today. Upon seeing Xiao Chen reveal his true appearance, Bai Yunfei, Mu Yunzhu, Fang Xiaobai, and the others who had grudges with Xiao Chen felt their qi and blood surge. Overwhelming rage twisted their faces, making them wish that they could tear Xiao Chen apart. This was especially so when Bai Yunfei, who had vomited blood and fainted at the divine capital's gate, gritted his teeth. Just one look was enough to frighten everyone. It has been a long time. The few of you are still as graceful as before. However, it is not that easy to kill me. Get down. Seeing that the six looked like they wanted to eat him up, Xiao Chen felt extremely happy. He threw a palm strike as he laughed loudly. Dragon's Gate's secret technique, Firmament's Rage. The rage from the ancient great desolate Aeon made the heaven-bridging peak tremble slightly. A huge palm materialized a world of lightning using the five-element divine lightning. Boundless saber intent spread out in that world of lightning. This was an incredibly strong Dragon's Gate secret technique in the first place. Furthermore, Xiao Chen had the advantage of the heaven-bridging peak when he drove it with his third-layer Thunder Dao domain. When he threw a palm strike from above, it happened to merge with the divine might. In that instant, Chu Feng and the other five felt like the sky had fallen on them. The six expressions changed. They felt heavy pressure bearing down on them, making breathing difficult. Retreat. This sudden palm strike, which Xiao Chen held the advantage of time and place, instantly extinguished the six auras, forcing them to take 3 steps back. Only then did the six execute their killing moves and condense divine energy to break the palm strike. It's Xiao Chen. When Zhang Yushan, who was below, saw the earlier scene, he nearly fell in fright. Then, he quickly supported Zhang Yushan. Senior brother, be careful. Zhang Yushan had yet to recover from his shock. He said absent-mindedly, damn it. Didn't he clearly fail to break through to the divine seal? Why is he here? Xiao Chen, who suppressed Zhang Yushan for 5 years in Fiend Cloud Hall, was actually the person who beat Zhang Yushan into a pig's head. Zhang Yushan simply could not accept such a result. It really is the Heavenly Alliance's Xiao Chen. Upon seeing Xiao Chen attack, the group of faux god powerhouses outside the trial tower felt slightly stunned. Although they had already guessed it, they still felt somewhat shocked when they saw Xiao Chen reveal his true appearance. Indeed, it is him. However, Mu Zifeng showed pleasant surprise in his eyes. He revealed a joyful smile. It really is that fellow. Gu Fei showed a grave expression, feeling a mountain-like pressure. After Xiao Chen threw his palm strike, he turned around and flew towards the god-conferring platform. It looked like Xiao Chen would truly step onto the god-conferring platform soon. Whoosh! Whoosh! On the heaven-bridging peak, Chu Feng and the other 5 were false emperor outstanding talents, after all. They took 3 steps back and condensed their divine energy to break Firmament's rage in just one breath. When the electric light scattered, they looked up and saw that Xiao Qin was already less than 300 meters away from the god-conferring platform. If he had not delayed earlier, he would not have stood a chance at all. Now, it is hard to say. Bai Yunfei exchanged glances with Chu Feng and sent a voice projection. Then, the 6 charged over again. Mu Yunju felt incredibly frustrated. He did not notice this scene. Right now, he only had eyes for Xiao Qin. Damn it. I don't believe that I can let you escape this time. Although the divine might here was at its densest, it was only 3 kilometers in the end. The 6 would only need 4 or 5 breaths to cross it. Whoosh. 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 However, just at this moment, Xiao Hozun and Feng Xiaobai turned around and blocked Mu Yunju and Gu Yuhan at the same time. Chu Feng smiled faintly and said, "The 2 of you, Brother Bai and I will take our leave first. Don't worry. The 2 of us will definitely help you kill Xiao Qin." "The 2 of you, what is the meaning of this?" Mu Yunju shouted sullenly, enraged by the sudden situation. Xiao Hozun smiled and said, "Brother Mu, there is no need to act stupid. Everyone knows that. Splitting the benefits of this god-conferring platform equally is not enough. Just stay here in peace. You might as well help Brother Bai and Brother Chu." At this moment, Mu Yunju finally understood. These 4 had colluded in secret. Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei must have promised them benefits. Mu Yunju had been waiting for this moment to get Xiao Hozun and Feng Xiaobai to block him and Gu Yuhan. "Senior brother, what should we do?" Mu Yunju could not help feeling anxious. The 4 were about equal in strength. There would be no problem for Xiao Hozun and Feng Xiaobai to delay the 2. If they really fought, as long as Bai Yunfei and Chu Feng left the mountain, the 2 would definitely suffer a great loss when the 4 worked together. Gu Yuhan glanced indifferently at the summit. A figure had just entered the summit. It was Xiao Qin, who had already ascended the god-conferring platform. Gu Yuhan could not help thinking, this Xiao Qin does not just hold the right time and location. He clearly holds the right time, the right place, and the right people. Bai Yunfei and Chu Feng are 2 fools. They thought that they already had Xiao Qin in the bag and did not fight with Xiao Qin at all. If they underestimated the enemy, they would be consigned to eternal damnation. Chapter 2173. With a thought, Xiao Qin quickly set aside his thoughts. He knew that the opportunity he had been waiting for had arrived. If a choice appeared before him, one that could sever all karma and allow him to become a true god, what would he choose? "Xiao Qin, if I don't die today, I will tear you into 10,000 pieces in the future." Before the 2 could do anything, Xiao Qin instantly spread out his peak 3rd layer Thunder Dao domain. The storm-like attacks were boundlessly sharp. Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei brought out all their trump cards. At the foot of the mountain, Yuan Zhen, who was chanting scriptures, glanced over. His expression did not change as he continued walking through this vast and boundless burial ground. Xiao Qin knew that this was because the heaven-bridging peak had broken into 3 pieces and lost its divine nature long ago. The world tree supporting the heavenly realm had broken, and the heaven-bridging peak had fallen. The martial epoch could no longer truly become a true god. Indeed, by severing karma, one could seek freedom and no longer be bound by anything. Everything in the past would become nothing. The many knots in one's heart and mental barriers would no longer exist now or in the future. One would no longer be tainted by karma or bound by the world. One could do whatever one wanted. Such a change made Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei's expressions turn somewhat unsightly. They showed anxious expressions as they exchanged glances and quickly sent voice projections. Calling it the god-conferring platform was too much of an exaggeration. Interesting. Xiao Qin's lips curled up in a smile. He could see the surroundings from the heaven-bridging peak. Chaotic cycles, breaking the shackles of time, no longer suffering from the torment of aging, sickness, and death. From then on, one would be immortal, existing forever with the world. This made this god-conferring platform look somewhat strange. It looked like a skeleton with a soul. Xiaochen could not be bothered with this monk, who knew what he was thinking. He looked around and fixed his gaze on the god-conferring platform below him. He saw Yuan Zhen, the cunning monk of the hidden spirit temple, who hid his strength like a fox. Humph. Dream on. The two of us spent a lot of effort to get to the god-conferring platform. How can we let you take advantage of us? Immediately, a miniature scene appeared on Yuan Zhen's finger, showing the karma. Miserable cries immediately resounded throughout the heaven-bridging peak, startling everyone who heard them. Xiaochen fought against two alone, yet he still managed to knock Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei away. On the divine seal altar, there was a great wind. Xiaochen leaped over and placed half of his foot on it. The moment he landed, he was almost blown away by the strong wind. The entire peak of Tongtian Peak had been flattened, but there were no signs of human activity. His face instantly turned pale with fright, drained of blood, and panicked. Xiaochen couldn't help but ponder for a moment, but he immediately rejected it. This kind of hypothetical question was meaningless. With a boom, the powerful might of the Tao of Thunder spread out. Bai Yunfei and Chu Feng were caught off guard and were forced to take several steps back. In an instant, they were pushed to the edge of the conferred god stage. Their bodies swayed and they almost fell. They could clearly see Xiaochen's appearance. His body was covered in silver armor, and his eyes shone brightly. His eyebrows were like swords, and his eyes were like stars. He looked heroic. Unfortunately, now that the heavenly realm was broken and the world tree was destroyed, all of this had already become a legend. Xiaochen asked himself. Everyone on the sky-piercing peak discussed animatedly, feeling extremely shocked by this contrast. When the light lit up, it also illuminated Xiaochen's appearance at the summit. Everyone on the sky-piercing peak immediately saw this mysterious phenomenon. After knocking back 6 people with Firmament's rage, Xiaochen did not hold anything back. He faced the strongest divine might at the peak and stepped onto the god-conferred platform. Fang Xiaobai and Xiao Hozun blocked Gu Yuhan and Mu Yunju. However, this did not affect Xiaochen at all. Right now, Xiaochen stood on the god-conferred platform and looked at the flowing space-time and the karmic threads flowing upside down. When Fang Xiaobai saw the 3 permethyl lamps, he smiled faintly and said, "Not bad. Xiaochen, thank you for lighting these 3 permethyl lamps for me. Brother Chu and I will remember your kindness. Now, you can scram down." Even though this was not Xiaochen's first time seeing a permethyl lamp, he still felt disappointed and frustrated. If only he could light up his divine bridge and ascend to the heavenly realm. How great would that be? Seeing that they could no longer endure, Bai Yunfei and Chu Feng lost all of their earlier arrogance. Their expressions were miserable as they begged Xiaochen for mercy. Even the heavenly gods that managed to survive the previous great war between the righteous factions and demonic factions lost their eternal lives. Karma bound them and they did not dare to leave the faux god world, fearing a backlash from the world. It's too late. Paramethyl lamp. 1 lamp, 2 lamps, 3 lamps. The veritable essence energy in Xiaochen's body was continuously sucked into the god-conferred platform. Releasing it was extremely difficult. Connecting the sky, if it were in the past, he would have been 1 step away from the sky. Xiaochen showed a calm expression as he said, "The fortuitous encounters in this god-conferred platform can be shared among the 3 of us. There is no need to fight to the death. If there are any grudges, we can resolve them on the god-conferred platform." So, that strange person is Xiaochen. This is too incredible. Time, location, and the 3-layer Thunder Dao domain. Xiaochen held all sorts of advantages. He had given these 2 a chance to enjoy the benefits of the god-conferred platform. In the end, they even tried to chase him off. Why did they insist on severing their karma? However, right now, Xiaochen could only look at the faux gods of the past. On the divine conferred altar, this was the most exciting moment. They could sever the karma that bound them to the heavens and earth, and obtain true freedom. 3rd-layer Dao domain. How can this be? I gave you face, but you rejected it. Xiao flicked his finger, and a drop of blood shot out and landed on the azure lamp. Xiao. As a sovereign personage, Xiao still had to respect the god-conferred platform. He could not underestimate it or profane it. Xiao did not show any mercy, punching the two off the god-conferred platform. Chu Feng smiled sinisterly and said, I had the same intention. I am also not willing to share the benefits of this god-conferred platform with a third person. Xiao took a step forward. The moment he stepped onto the god-conferred platform, something strange happened. I wonder how many Prometha lamps Xiao can light up on the god-conferred platform. I heard that some people manage to light up 5 Prometha lamps at most. At this moment, no one said anything. Even the bet between Mu Zifeng and Gu Fei was temporarily put aside. Xiao heart sank. He knew that this was not the time to lament about this. Not being able to advance to godhood did not mean that it was useless to him. However, just at this moment, 2 strong winds blew. Bai Yunfei and Chu Feng appeared at the same time, landing on the god-conferred platform. Was his life bitter? Did he have any regrets? Did he experience unbearable pain? The Prometha lamps were originally meant to allow one to surpass the Prometha lamp, illuminating the divine bridge and allowing one to step onto the deity realm. Now, they could only be used as treasures for sovereign personages to comprehend the Tao and obtain fortuitous encounters. It looked like Xiao would have no problem lighting up at least 4 Prometha lamps. However, just as the two circulated their veritable essence energy, their expressions changed slightly. Xiao was extremely strong in the first place, about as strong as a false emperor. After putting on the alloy battle armor, he immediately entered his peak state. Whoosh! Whoosh! The many faux god powerhouses outside the trial tower were entranced when they saw this scene. Xiao continuously used his third-layer Thunder Dao domain to suppress the two. Then, he pressed forward and instantly launched a sharp attack. Coincidentally, the 2 Prometha lamps floated out at this moment. However, it was impossible for Xiao to sever his karma just because of this. Wanting to condense divine essence, how could it be that easy to condense it? Whoosh! Xiao could not be bothered with the two's shock. He smiled coldly and said, the two of you are not capable of chasing me off. Refine divine energy? Let's see how the two of you refine divine energy on this god-conferred platform. Although this god-conferred platform was ancient and mysterious, it clearly lost its spirituality, leaving only an empty platform. As Xiao continued pouring in veritable essence energy, the god-conferred platform turned as viscous as water. An azure lamp slowly appeared. A determined look appeared in Xiao eyes. Turning into a demonic Tao or not? It has nothing to do with me. From the moment I stepped onto the Bridge of Heroes, there was no reason to retreat. When Xiao squinted, he saw that it was the scene of Xiao fighting Chu Chaoyun in the Sky Dome realm during the 5-nation youth competition. Whoosh! Damn it! However, Xiao could only do his best to endure. He could not advance by even half an inch. Half of his foot hovered in the air, his divine body teetering on the verge of collapse. Every divine character was like a life. However, it did not have a soul or spirit. Xiao smiled coldly. However, he did not show any fear at all. He had expected such a scene long ago. When Xiao felt that his veritable essence energy and soul energy were still manageable, he revealed an expression of joy. The more Prometha lamps he lit, the greater the benefits he would gain. If it were anywhere else, Xiao would fear the might of divine energy. However, this god-conferred platform continuously absorbed the veritable essence energy of cultivators. Xiao had lived a bitter life. He had many regrets, as well as unbearable pain that he could not tear his heart apart. At this moment, Xiao stood at the edge, half his foot still hovering in the air. He had not truly stepped onto the god-conferred platform yet. It is time to truly step onto it. Xiao chanted sutras amid the boundless corpses. Even when standing on the god-conferred platform, his silhouette was visible. The circulation of veritable essence energy in this place did not change. However, Xiaochen had the blue dragon divine body. His physical body and vital qi were much stronger than the two's. The veritable essence energy in Xiaochen's body surged like a flood. This veritable essence energy surged towards the god-conferred platform uncontrollably. Rumble. However, what was the point of doing so? Xiaochen did not panic. Before coming, he already knew about the mysterious phenomenon that would occur after stepping onto the god-conferred platform. If karma was severed, although one would gain a new life, it would also negate one's life. Perhaps one had some regrets about one's life, feeling that the world of mortals was too bitter. No matter how strong one was, as long as one was tainted by karma, one would experience unbearable pain. Bai Yunfei said coldly, "Brother Chu, each of us can condense a strand of divine energy. We will definitely be able to knock him down. Xiao Chen, Brother Xiao, give us a chance. The two of us know we were wrong." A true god possessed vast might that surpassed time and space, jumping out of the cycle of reincarnation and not being bound by karma. However, one could only watch. Xiao Chen stretched out his hand and touched a line of karma. He casually looked down. This boundless burial ground appeared insignificant in the depths of his eyes. Bang! 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 Severing karma, disrupting the cycle of reincarnation. As the veritable essence energy in Xiao Chen's body drained, the god-conferred platform slowly spun like a millstone. The surrounding scene changed. Time and space flowed, and beams of light made of karma flowed down in reverse, looking very colorful. Suddenly, a flickering flame lit up. A strand of light immediately appeared in this dark burial ground, illuminating the surroundings. It was like the worldly ghost hatchet divine art appeared naturally. Many divine characters were embedded in it, inspiring awe. Xiao Chen revealed a nostalgic expression as he looked at the surrounding karma and the flowing time, entering deep thought. Chapter 2174. Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei were knocked down. However, the permethal lamps that they activated with veritable essence energy did not disappear. Together with the permethal lamps that Xiao Chen activated earlier, 5 permethal lamps immediately appeared on the god-conferring platform. Bai Yunfei thought very well, wanting to chase Xiao Chen down and forcibly take his 3 permethal lamps. Unexpectedly, he and Chu Feng each gave Xiao Chen a permethal lamp in the end. Time flowed, and karma reversed. On the god-conferring platform, Xiao Chen showed a grave expression. In the blink of an eye, another 2 drops of essence blood landed on a permethal lamp. Xiao Chen's complexion paled significantly. Every drop of essence blood contained his soul and divine seal's origin energy. Whoosh! Whoosh! The lamp flames flickered, illuminating this part of the world. Xiao Chen's face flickered on the heaven-bridging peak summit. Everyone on the sky-piercing peak could see his handsome, delicate face, with sharp features that looked like they had been carved by a knife. 5 permethal lamps. That's 5 permethal lamps. Those 2 fools, Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei, really gave him a great gift. They really went for wool and came home shorn. Xiao Chen already gave those 2 a chance, but they rejected him. I wonder what's strange about the god-conferring platform. Those 2 false emperors cannot condense divine energy. The disciples of the 5 great sects continued climbing the heaven-bridging peak. Although the latecomers could not condense a permethal lamp, as long as they reached the god-conferring platform, they would gain something from comprehending the Tao and cultivating there. Comprehending the Tao and meditating on the spot would result in some gains, just not as great as the ones before him. Boom! Suddenly, the world roared. Xiao Chen condensed another permethal lamp. 6 permethal lamps appeared on the god-conferring platform in an instant. The high and mighty lamp flames looked as dazzling as stars from a distance. Every permethal lamp's flame was lit by Xiao Chen's soul. This had never happened before. Even the strongest person only condensed 5 permethal lamps. However, this time, with Bai Yunfei and Chu Feng's help, Xiao Chen lit 6 permethal lamps, surpassing everyone in the past. Thunderous booms resounded in the surroundings. At that instant, the wind and clouds surged as a myriad of unusual phenomena took place. A boundless and majestic spirit appeared in the sky. Amidst all sorts of terrifying phenomena, the image of a broken bridge flickered in the clouds, flickering in and out of existence. Divine bridge. Heavenly bridge. Many disciples on the sky-connecting peak exclaimed as they stared at the bridge in astonishment. The divine bridge in front of them was definitely not real. It was just an illusion that came from space-time. Even so, it was still shocking. This divine bridge represented the glory of the martial epoch, all the glory of the past. Once he stepped onto this bridge, he would be able to head to the heaven realm. Unfortunately, endless sighs filled the hearts of the crowd. The faux gods outside the trial tower fell silent as well. Compared to these sovereign personages, these faux gods felt even more deeply about this scene. 6 pyramithal lamps and even the phantom of the divine bridge have appeared from the reversal of space-time. This Xiao Chen is really surprising. An incredible demonic genius appeared in the Heavenly Alliance this time. We can't underestimate him in the future. I'm curious how much fortuitous encounter he can obtain after absorbing the fortuitous encounter of these 6 pyramithal lamps. He will probably advance to peak false emperor with a thought. He obtained the years of bitter cultivation that others took in an instant. It's hard to say. He already refined the Thunder Cliff tree earlier. It's hard to say if he wants to make such a huge breakthrough. This was unprecedented. 6 pyramithal lamps surprised everyone. However, another pyramithal lamp appeared on the god-conferring platform amid this surprise. At the summit of the mountain, 7 stars shone brightly, illuminating the sky. The broken bridge, which flickered in and out of existence, appeared in the void. It was a sight that inspired awe and veneration. 7 stars. It turns out that he already possesses the ability to form 5 pyramithal lamps alone. They are really 2 idiots. They gave Xiao Chen a great opportunity for nothing. Who knows what great fortuitous encounter Xiao Chen will obtain with these 7 pyramithal lamps. Without Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei, Xiao Chen would have only 5 pyramithal lamps. He would not have caused such a commotion. However, there were no ifs in this world. The 7 lamps lit up the god-conferring platform. The light of the flames shone on Xiao Chen's pale face, making him look glistening with divine light. He looked like a heroic divine general. After all, without the strength of a false emperor, 5 lamps is already my limit. As Xiao Chen looked at the 7 lamps, he nodded slightly. Then, he sat down cross-legged and pressed his palms together. Boom! In that instant, the 7 lamps turned into flowing light and entered Xiao Chen's body. The flowing spacetime and inverted threads of karma immediately wrapped around Xiao Chen, spinning rapidly. Damn it! Are the 2 of you still trying to block us? Mu Yunzhu said to Feng Xiaobai and Xiahou Zun through clenched teeth as he looked at the mysterious phenomenon on the god-conferring platform from 3 kilometers away. Everything happened in the time it took for a spark to fly. Right after Xiao Chen knocked Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei down, Mu Yunzhu and Feng Xiaobai saw the mysterious phenomenon on the god-conferring platform. Before the 2 could react, they saw Xiao Chen materialize 7 pyramithal lamps. This immediately stupefied them. The series of strange changes stupefied Feng Xiaobai and Xiahou Zun. They could not digest this in such a short time. Mu Yunzhu's roar startled the 2 awake. Then, fear and shock appeared in their eyes. How could it be like this? Gu Yuhan smiled coldly and said, "It is within expectations. These 2 fools do not know what the god-conferring platform's environment is like." After Xiao Chen refined that 100,000-year-old herb king, even if his strength is weaker than ours, it should not be that much weaker. By relying on the terrain and timing, as well as the fact that these 2 fools underestimated him, I am not surprised that someone knocked them off the mountain. The moment Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei stepped onto the god-conferring platform, Gu Yuhan had already guessed the result. Others might not know Xiao Chen's strength, but Gu Yuhan was very clear on it. Before he refined the Thunder Cliff tree, this was the best opportunity to kill Xiao Chen. If he missed it, there would not be another. Gu Yuhan had encountered such an opportunity before. Unfortunately, he had not grasped it. What are we waiting for? The four of us should charge up together. I don't believe that Xiaochen can defeat the four of us alone. Fang Xiaobai said seriously as he looked at the god-conferring platform. Foolish. If everyone was as brainless as you, not to mention 4 false emperors, even 10 false emperors would not be enough to kill him. How can Xiaochen be that horrifying? Look at how scared you are. You are completely brainless. Disdain flashed in Gu Yuhan's eyes as he looked at the god-conferring platform. Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei not only lost because they underestimated him. If the 4 of us go up, we will not have a good time either. What should we do, then? Xia Hozuan felt a bit depressed as a haze flashed through his eyes. He said with a low voice. Gu Yuhan replied indifferently, it's very simple. The 4 of us will work together and start refining divine energy. The moment we ascend the god-conferring platform, we will immediately attack and use our divine energy to execute a peak strike. Even if Xiaochen has 9 lives, it will not be enough. The moment Gu Yuhan said that, the eyes of Xiahou Zun and the other 2 lit up. After thinking about it, if Chu Feng and Fang Xiaobai had done the same earlier, the outcome might have been different. A bright light flashed in Fang Xiaobai's eyes. He said, at that time, we will split his 7 permethyl lamps equally. We will still be the ones laughing in the end. Alright, let's do that. Outside the trial tower, Gu Fei's lips curled up in a smile. Gu Yuhan truly lived up to his profound Heaven Holy Land's outstanding talent, second only to the Holy Sun. At the crucial moment, Gu Yuhan remained so calm. So what if he condensed 7 permethyl lamps? In the end, my profound Heaven Holy Land's outstanding talents will benefit from it. Thinking of this, Gu Fei could not help feeling cocky. Mu Zifeng, who had been rather relaxed, now showed some worry on his face. This Gu Yuhan was scarily calm. He was still young, but he already showed signs of being a major character. After Gu Yuhan and the other 3 made their choice, they started refining divine energy and approached the summit step by step. However, Xiaochen, who sat cross-legged on the god-conferring platform, found it hard to make a decision. The moment the 7 permethyl lamps entered Xiaochen's body, the scene before him suddenly changed. The incomplete bridge in the sky actually appeared before him. However, it was not 1 bridge but 2. One was pitch black, and the other was jade white. One was a divine bridge, and the other was a demonic bridge. Each bridge had 7 permethyl lamps on both sides. No matter what choice Xiaochen made, he would obtain the opportunity that the 7 permethyl lamps brought. Xiaochen could clearly sense that one of the 2 bridges was made of his spiritual energy veritable essence energy and the other was made of his demonic chi veritable essence energy. With a thought, one could become a demon or a deity. The choice was up to Xiaochen. Xiaochen showed a strange expression. Clearly, he had not expected such a scene. Then, Xiaochen looked into the distance, to the other side of the bridge. There seemed to be an indescribably majestic existence on the other side. Xiaochen took a step forward and approached the demonic bridge. He immediately saw a bright moon hanging high on the other side of the bridge. Under the moonlight, a majestic figure wearing the alloy battle armor radiated a treasure light, smiling at Xiaochen. Xiaochen frowned slightly and moved closer to the demonic bridge. A throne and a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood appeared on the other side of the bridge. Xiaochen leaned on the throne, supporting himself with one hand on the armrest as he raised his wine cup and took a sip. Then, Xiaochen raised his eyebrows slightly and showed a sinister smile. The wine on Xiaochen's lips was as bright as blood. A scarlet moon slowly rose in the sea of blood. Xiaochen took 3 steps back and returned to his starting position. Then, he looked between the demonic bridge and the divine bridge. Chapter 2175. Inside the consciousness space, Xiaochen still could not come out of the strange cycle. The Buddhist sects Kasyapa Buddha and the Blue Dragon Bloodline's blood-soaked Dragon Emperor all abandoned the demonic path and returned to the righteous path. Just as Xiaochen felt at a loss, Gu Yuhan's group of 4 slowly approached the god-conferring platform on the heaven-bridging peak. It looked like they would need less than 10 seconds to charge up. Sovereign Emperor. Xiao closed his eyes and entered deep thought, thinking about which bridge to choose. It really is spiritual rain. Why is there spiritual rain on the God-conferring platform? Xiao had already seen the might of divine energy long ago. As they slowly approached, it looked like they were going to merge. However, just at this moment, something unexpected happened. The situation changed drastically. A sharp light soared into the clouds on the God-conferring platform, piercing through the sky. An aura suddenly burst out, shocking the surroundings, unprecedented in the past and present. What's going on? Xiao did not want to be an ancient demonic sovereign or a powerful divine sovereign. He only wanted to be himself. Xiao already saw the future of the divine bridge and the demonic bridge. If he chose either, the benefits of the 7 azure lamps would not diminish. Suddenly, Xiao felt horror in his heart. There seemed to be an unknown plot on this God-conferring platform. If Bai Yunfei and Chu Feng had not been careless and could not condense divine energy on this God-conferring platform, Xiao would not have defeated them so miserably. Xiao position changed. 2 ancient, burning azure lamps blocked his way in all directions. However, Xiao had not woken up yet. The scarier thing was that Gu Yuhan's group of 4 had been condensing divine energy as they climbed. How condensed was the spiritual rain contained within the rainwater? However, such a choice did not remain in Xiao memory. Perhaps it was erased. If one did not make a choice, one would not be able to reach the other side. No matter which direction one took, 2 bridges would appear, 1 divine bridge and 1 demonic bridge. The moment the 4 attacked, Mu Zifeng's expression changed. He knew that he was in trouble. With Xiao experience, he could easily tell that anyone who blocked these 4 killing moves would die unless a sovereign emperor made a move. Gu Yuhan felt stupefied. Although Xiao was domineering earlier, everything was within Gu Yuhan's control and expectations. The disciples of the various factions were overjoyed. The spiritual rain falling from the sky was even purer than the origin liquid. There was no third option. It wasn't that they didn't want to cultivate together, but that they couldn't. Ling Yu. Perhaps it was not without reason that the sky-bridging peak was broken into 3 pieces by the Black Dragon King. The 2 bridges in front of him were formed by sensing the demonic energy and spiritual energy in his body. Seeing this scene, Gu Fei, whose heart had been hanging in suspense, began to laugh wildly, feeling incomparably pleased with himself. In the illusory space, Xiao opened his eyes and made his choice. Ha 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 ha. In the end, Gu Fei won this bet. Mu Zifeng, remember, you owe me a wish. I hope you can accept your defeat. A figure suddenly stood up. With a flip of his hand, the wind and clouds changed color. Instantly, the killing moves of the 4 experts crumbled in the blink of an eye. Xiao could only rely on himself to resolve the problem before him. Back then, he could not find the answer to the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's question. Furthermore, now that Xiao cultivation had fallen from half-step sovereign emperor to late-stage sovereign personage, he would definitely die. In the past few years, Xiao had purposely given up on cultivating the demonic cloud heaven-swallowing art. Amid thunder and lightning, strong winds blew, and torrential rain poured endlessly. In just a few breaths, Xiao cultivation plummeted like a flood, incredibly fast. Before the 4 could sigh, the remaining palm lights shattered their internal organs, leaving thousands of holes in their bodies. Then, they fell off the sky-bridging peak. However, when Xiao looked back, nothing changed. Only by making a choice could one see where the other shore was. If it were someone else, perhaps only 1 bridge would appear before them. Whoosh! 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 2 divine bridges appeared because of Xiao. Long ago, Xiao learned that one could not cultivate the righteous Dao and demonic Dao cultivation techniques at the same time in the martial epoch. As Xiao looked at the 2 ancient bridges in front, he sat down cross-legged and formed hand seals. Immediately, the spiritual energy and veritable essence energy in his body flowed out continuously. If he had to choose one path to obtain the benefits of the 7 azure lamps, then he would not mind giving up on it. Back in the real world, on the God-conferring platform on the heaven-bridging peak, after entering this God-conferring platform, Xiaochen did not say anything about turning his head back. He would not run into such a problem. Xiaochen searched the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's memories. The blood-soaked Dragon Emperor did indeed cultivate a demonic Dao cultivation technique. Could there be only one bridge left before him? If the veritable essence energy in Xiaochen's body could reach the state of primal chaos, yin and yang, perfectly merging. Right, let's do that. However, why must I separate myself? Inside his consciousness space, Xiaochen scattered his spiritual energy and veritable essence energy as fast as he could. The two ancient bridges in front had already started flickering endlessly. On the heaven-bridging peak, many cultivators were drenched by the rain. When the rain seeped into their skin, they discovered that their cultivation had increased slightly. The four of them condensed divine essence along the way. At this moment, the moment they attacked, the terrifying aura instantly severed the thunder clouds, and the entire heavenspan peak started trembling. Boom! A single thought from a fiend god. This fall was even worse than Chu Feng's and Bai Yunfei's. Whether or not he could survive was up to fate. Xiaochen was overjoyed. As expected, it was like this. Good. Mu Zifeng snorted coldly and ignored Xiaochen. He only looked at Xiaochen, feeling confused. He still could not understand. Gu Yuhan said coldly, determination flashing in his eyes. Although he said that he was turning back, he was actually running away. How could running away solve the problem? The figure who stood up gently waved his hand. When his palm was facing the sky and his back was facing the sky, he pushed out his palm. Facing the howling wind and torrential rain, the few of them took large strides. Just as they were about to step onto the conferred god stage, they leaped up and attacked simultaneously. Divine energy that was purer and denser than Gu Yuhan's and the others surged out. As the Buddhists say, repent and you will be saved. Oh no. Now, the four, who were only a few steps away from the conferred god stage, did not dare to move rashly. Gu Yuhan's expression changed slightly. As he looked at the spiritual rain in his hand, he showed a strange expression in deep thought. What is this Xiaochen up to? Shock flashed in Xiaochen's eyes as he turned around. There were actually two bridges behind him as well, one divine bridge and one demonic bridge. That is possible. Perhaps he sensed that the four below are coming and knows that he will die for sure. So, he might as well take a gamble. Even if he did not want to, he had to choose. What cultivation did these people have? They were heaven-defying sovereign personages at the very least. When the spiritual rain entered their bodies, it actually increased their cultivation. With this thought, Xiaochen's eyes lit up. His thoughts immediately cleared up. Xiaochen did not get overly anxious. He continued to think calmly, thinking of a way to resolve this. Be it the ancient demonic sovereign under the blood moon on the other side of the demonic bridge or the powerful deity sovereign under the bright moon on the other side of the divine bridge, they were all himself. Mu Yunzhu glanced at the conferred god stage a few steps away. Then, he said, Senior brother, this fellow's cultivation has fallen to late-stage sovereign personage. What move are you making? To think that I cannot understand it. Mu Yunzhu and the other two gaped at each other, unable to figure it out, as well. Even if Xiaochen had been at his peak, he would not have had any chance of victory against these four killing moves, which were formed entirely from divine energy. At best, he would have been hanging on by a thread. Strange. Even if Xiaochen found Xiaochen's memories of this problem, it would not be of much help. Quickly absorb it. Ha ha ha. This is even purer than origin liquid. It really is the immortal spiritual rain. Suddenly, a large amount of veritable essence energy flowed out of Xiaochen's body, looking pure and dense. Wind blew, thunder roared, clouds moved, and rain fell. Soon, the spiritual energy that Xiaochen gave off turned into a heavy downpour. Accompanied by lightning and thunder, it poured down with a crashing sound. Be it in the future or in the past, I will only choose to be myself. No one can determine my future. As long as Xiao Chen's spiritual energy, veritable essence energy, and demonic qi, veritable essence energy, reach a balance, he will be able to merge his veritable essence energy into one. We can't wait any longer. No matter what tricks he plays, we just need to suppress him with strength. This is origin energy. It looked like this made sense. They might have faced a similar situation before. With a thought, a god demon could either become a god or a demon. Outside the trial tower, the group of faux gods, including Mu Zifeng, could not understand either. Let's do it, then. Now that Xiao Chen made up his mind, he no longer hesitated, turning to leave. There were many god monarchs and demonic lords in the world. However, there was only one Xiao Chen. However, the price is too high. Even jumping off the god-conferred platform would be better than this. Furthermore, look. He still has not opened his eyes. This means that he is still refining the Permitha energy of the azure lamp. After living for so long, I can't even understand the actions of a junior. It was not that some people had not cultivated the Permitha energy. However, in the end, they were forced to give up on one of them. Whoosh! Cultivation is not easy to come by. Who knows how many resources he exhausted and how much time he had to spend to reach his current cultivation. Why did he scatter it just like that? Gu Fei, who was laughing maniacally outside the trial tower, was stupefied. Before he finished speaking, Xiao Chen actually became a sovereign emperor, instantly turning the situation around. Is it possible that he is brewing some kind of secret technique? I know that some secret techniques will cause one's cultivation to drop when executed. The primal chaos veritable essence energy in Xiao Chen's body could no longer reach its initial state of balancing yin and yang, merging them into one. Now that Xiao Chen suddenly released his origin energy, he could not understand. Xiao Chen executed a horrifying killing move at the same time, instantly drowning out Xiao Chen. Gu Fei smiled and said, "I think you are overthinking. Perhaps you are just stupid. The Permitha energy is not that easy to refine. If you are not careful, you might end up damaging your brain. Don't you think so, Mu Zifeng?" This, Gu would scatter the veritable essence energy that they had cultivated so painstakingly. How many years would it take to condense it? Chapter 2176. Sovereign Emperor. Divine Vein Realm's Sovereign Emperor. On the God-conferring platform, Xiao Chen's aura and the surging divine energy in his palm proved that Xiao Chen was already a bona fide divine vein realm's sovereign emperor. First, Xiao Chen's cultivation dropped significantly, falling from half-step sovereign emperor to late-stage sovereign personage. Then, he jumped 2 grades, directly advancing to sovereign emperor. Many people felt stupefied. Xiao Chen's advancement felt like a dream. Even false emperors could not advance to sovereign emperor in a short time. How could the bottleneck between sovereign personage and sovereign emperor be so easy to break? The Cloud Sea realm had 3 major stages: Star Venerate, Holy Venerate, and Sovereign Personage. After passing Sovereign Personage, one would break through the limits of humans and start cultivating the divine. The bottleneck between Sovereign Personage and Sovereign Emperor was from human to divine. Even the peak geniuses of the faux god world needed 1 year to comprehend before they could break through. For example, the Dragon God Crown Prince Qin Ming, Grim Reaper Lin Feng, the Profound Heaven Holy Sun, Chu Chaoyun, and the others, who had already left the faux god world, had to cultivate for 1 or 2 years before they broke through their bottlenecks. However, someone like Xiao Chen, who instantly broke through the bottleneck of a sovereign emperor, was one of a kind. 1 moment ago, Xiao Chen was still a late-stage sovereign personage. In the next, he became a divine vein realm's sovereign emperor, defeating Gu Yuhan and the others with a wave of his hand. Then, he soared into the sky from the god-conferring platform. He, actually became a sovereign emperor. Zhang Yushan's voice trembled as he spoke in a daze. Zhang Yushan was not the only one. All the disciples of the various factions on the heaven-bridging peak were shocked. Everyone had only one goal in the faux god world, to become a sovereign emperor as soon as possible and return to the great thousand realms to show off their might. However, for most people, becoming a sovereign emperor in 10 years was an extravagant hope. Even though the faux god world's environment and fortuitous encounters were much better than the outside worlds, it was still somewhat difficult to become a sovereign emperor in 10 years. Those who could become sovereign emperors within 10 years would be heavily nurtured by their sects and factions. They would hold high positions, and their futures would be limitless. In the past, the Peach Blossom's sovereign emperor had told Xiaochen this. No matter how talented one was, if one could not become a sovereign emperor, everything would be meaningless. At the trial tower, Mu Zifeng looked at Gu Fei and said, "Brother Gu, it looks like I won this bet in the end." Gu Fei's expression was gloomy as he shouted, "I can still afford to lose, don't worry." Then, he left in a hurry. He looked anxious as he flew towards Real God Hall. Everyone knew that Xiaochen wanted to see the Holy Lord and do his best to protect Gu Yuhan and Mu Yunju's lives. These two were outstanding talents. Their strength was clear for all to see. The profound Heaven Holy Land had spent a lot of resources on these two. Dying like this would be a huge loss. The many faux gods sighed softly. No one had expected things to end like this. In the end, the Heavenly Alliance's Xiaochen monopolized the greatest benefit of the god-conferring platform. There were many obstacles along the way. Gu Yuhan, Chu Feng, and the others did their best to monopolize it. In the end, all their efforts ended in vain. Back then, if Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei had agreed to Xiaochen to form their own azure lamps and absorb the Prometha energy, the result might have been different. However, there were no ifs in this world. Xiaochen absorbed 7 azure lamps, breaking the shackles of godhood and becoming a divine Vane Realm sovereign emperor. Did Xiaochen really absorb only 7 azure lamps? Only Xiaochen knew the answer. He did not absorb 7 azure lamps but a total of 14. When the divine demon bridges merged into one, the Prometha lamps did not merge. There were 7 on each side, for a total of 14. The instant Xiaochen refined the energy of the 14 Prometha lamps, he felt his cultivation soar. This was the first time in his life that he experienced the carefree feeling of soaring into the sky, advancing rapidly. It was truly a carefree feeling. Sovereign Emperor. Xiaochen tightly clenched his right fist. His eyes sparkled with a sharp light as confidence welled up in him. Xiaochen had waited for this moment for a very long time, for many years. He had not wasted his 7 years in the faux god world. Many outstanding talents ended up as sovereign personages. Since they could not become sovereign emperors, they could only waste their lives and die in sorrow. Xiaochen finally cleared the hurdle of becoming a sovereign emperor. After glancing at the foot of the mountain, Xiaochen shouted, "Where are the Heavenly Alliance disciples? Xiaochen will open the way for you. Aside from my Heavenly Alliance disciples, no one else is allowed to enter the god-conferring platform." What? Damn it. What is this Xiaochen trying to do? Why can't we go up? Because he is a sovereign emperor. If you are not convinced, just look at what happened to Gu Yuhan and the others. Ha ha ha. Xiaochen is a sovereign emperor. Let's go. Let's see who dares to stop us now. Immediately, some people rejoiced while others grieved. Naturally, the Heavenly Alliance disciples rejoiced. Along the way in paradise, the Heavenly Alliance disciples had been bullied and humiliated. The heaven-bridging peak had also been ostracized by the other factions. The Heavenly Alliance disciples had always been at the bottom of the heaven-bridging peak. Mu Zifeng, this disciple of yours is really arrogant. Once he gained the upper hand, he immediately became arrogant. Humph. Why doesn't he think about how pitiful he was before he came? He was even wrapped in a bedsheet to deceive others. How shameless. I thought that he was some big shot. He is only a so-so. When the other faux god powerhouses saw this scene, their expressions naturally turned unsightly. What did this mean? Xiaochen directly chased their disciples off the god-conferring platform. All of them felt enraged. Mu Zifeng smiled and said, "Everyone is right. This Xiaochen is really undisciplined when doing things. He is simply shameless. I'll teach him a lesson later." However, Mu Zifeng felt incredibly pleased in his heart as he laughed loudly. Indeed, this Xiao Chen did not make a mistake. This was what Xiao Chen needed to do. Even when he stood in a high position, he did not forget his status. What a bunch of fellows. Previously, when the Heavenly Alliance disciples were ostracized, he did not say a word. Serves you right for having such a day. Naturally, Xiao Chen had to thank the Heavenly Alliance for his accomplishments today. He was doing this to return the favor. Hence, he did not find anything wrong with it. After looking down the mountain, Xiao Chen entered deep thought. Then, he went to a corner of the God-conferring platform. Then, he suddenly attacked, using his own strength to block all the divine might there. Boom! Immediately, Xiao Chen forcefully opened up a fast passage on the heaven-bridging peak, which was filled with divine might. Naturally, only the Heavenly Alliance disciples could use this passage. Soon, the stronger Heavenly Alliance disciples, Wu Meng, Gongzi Lan, and Mou, climbed up the God-conferring platform one after another. They showed somewhat complicated expressions, feeling very grateful. Congratulations, Xiao Chen. You are too polite. When the Heavenly Alliance's people arrived at the summit through the fast passage, Xiao Chen smiled faintly and stopped. I'll leave the rest to the three of you to maintain order. I'm going down the mountain. Wu Meng nodded. There were many Heavenly Alliance disciples, so there had to be an order. The three also understood the rules, so they easily took on this task. Whoosh! Xiao Chen gently leaped up and directly jumped down from the summit. As Gongzi Lan looked at Xiao Chen's back, he sighed. Back then, he was defeated by me. In the blink of an eye, he already left me far behind. Mou said after some thought, Xiao Chen has a sense of toughness, sharpness, and pride. However, he is low-key and dependable, matching the air of the faux god world. It is simply tailor-made for him. It is not strange for him to surpass us. The three withdrew their gazes and looked at the god-conferring platform. Wu Meng said after some thought, the three of us should be able to condense an azure lamp each. Being able to obtain such a harvest is already an opportunity. Right. If not for Xiao Chen, not to mention one Prometha lamp, we might not even be able to reach the god-conferring platform. The three sighed in their hearts. Compared to the other super factions, even with the alloy battle armor, the Heavenly Alliance disciples were still slightly weaker. Indeed, they had to thank Xiao Chen for their current opportunity. However, there was a reason why Xiao Chen was in such a rush to leave. In the burial ground, Yuanjun chanted scriptures, purifying the dead. A Buddhist light shone on his body as he walked among the corpses. He looked like a Buddha in the world, inspiring awe and veneration. I found it. Yuanjun suddenly rejoiced. Then, he saw a pile of corpses turn into fireflies and scatter after being purified, revealing a dust-covered, ancient key. However, just as Yuanjun was about to collect it, a strong aura descended from the sky. The Buddhist light that Yuanjun originally gave off was forcibly suppressed into his body. The strong aura forced Yuanjun to take a few steps back before he could stand stably. The ethereal immortal palace key? Monk Yuanjun, why are you looking for this? Xiao Chen, who descended from the sky, grabbed the key. Then, he raised his eyebrows as he looked at Yuanjun. Chapter 2177. An ethereal immortal palace key. Xiao Chen also had one, which the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor gave him. According to rumor, there were a total of 7 ethereal immortal palace keys. If one gathered all of them, one could open the ethereal immortal palace and take out the transcendent grade soul tool, the Wings of Time. This Wings of Time had a great origin. It was the only transcendent grade soul tool in the world. Back then, the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor relied on this Wings of Time to defeat the unparalleled Black Dragon King. However, the world did not have much interest in the ethereal immortal palace, as the 7 ethereal immortal palace keys were scattered throughout the Great Thousand Realms. The most important one, the Inheritance Key, had been lost for a long time, its whereabouts unknown. More importantly, no one knew where the ethereal immortal palace was. Even if one found the key, it would be useless. Hence, Xiao Chen felt very curious. Why did Yuanjin give up on the opportunity on the God-conferring platform? Why did Yuanjin come to this burial ground to search for the ethereal immortal palace key? The instant Yuanjin saw Xiaochen appear, he showed an extremely stunned expression. The combination of his bald head and his shocked face looked very interesting. After stabilizing his emotions, Yuanjin smiled and said, "I was wondering who it was. It turns out that benefactor Xiao was joking with this monk. Congratulations. Being able to obtain the opportunity of 7 azure lamps is unprecedented in paradise. After you become a sovereign emperor and leave this faux god world, your name will shake the world. Why are you looking for the ethereal immortal palace key?" When Yuanjin saw that Xiaochen did not budge, he continued to pursue the matter. After some thought, he said, "Everyone has their own secrets. Although this monk is a monk, I am no exception. Benefactor Xiao, please stop asking." Xiaochen entered deep thought. Then, he nodded and said, "That's fine. I won't make things difficult for you, then." As Xiaochen spoke, he tried to put the ethereal immortal palace key into his storage ring. Yuanjin immediately panicked. He stepped forward and stretched out his hand to stop Xiaochen. "Benefactor Xiao, this monk found this after much difficulty. Don't do this." Xiaochen toyed with the ethereal immortal palace key for a while. Then, he smiled and said, "It belongs to whoever looks for it first. You are a monk. There is no need to be so unreasonable. Since it's in my hands, it naturally belongs to me. What's wrong with putting it into my own storage ring?" Yuanjin frowned heavily. Then, he said sullenly, "Benefactor Xiao, we have some friendship, right? Let's not talk about the matter of the ice-fire wasteland. Let's talk about today. If this monk didn't withdraw today, I'm afraid you wouldn't have obtained such a great fortune, right?" When Xiaochen heard this, he immediately found it funny. This monk had almost cheated him of his ice-fire lotus platform in the ice-fire wasteland, yet he still had the nerve to mention it. "As for today, if you don't fight for it, what has it got to do with me?" Xiaochen said softly, "Let's not talk about this. Tell me, why are you looking for the ethereal immortal palace key? If you tell me, I can give it to you." Yuanjin revealed a troubled expression. He said, "I cannot tell Benefactor Xiao about this now." Xiaochen didn't make things difficult for him and said, "Then I'll keep it for you for now. When you can tell the truth, I'll give it to you." Ignoring Yuanjin, Xiaochen leaped into the air. His figure gradually grew weaker and eventually vanished from paradise. Whoosh! Xiaochen's figure flashed, and he appeared outside the trial tower. He immediately noticed many gazes on him. The faux god powerhouses of the 5 super factions looked at Xiaochen with somewhat unsightly expressions. "Xiaochen, come over here." Mu Zifeng smiled faintly and waved at Xiaochen. "Greetings, Lord Mu." Xiaochen landed and performed a cupped fist salute. Mu Zifeng carefully sized up Xiaochen. Then, he nodded and said with a smile, "Not bad. Your performance this time is pretty good. Among the rewards, I'll think about what to give you after we leave the faux god world." After advancing to Sovereign Emperor, Xiaochen had to leave the faux god world. This trip to the faux god world came to a perfect conclusion. Xiaochen would appear in the Great Thousand Realms as a member of the Heavenly Alliance for a long time. "Thank you, Lord Mu. How much longer can I remain in the faux god world?" 3 days. Xiaochen thought to himself. With only 3 days remaining, he felt somewhat reluctant to leave now. The environment of the faux god world was similar to the Great Desolate Aeon, very suitable for cultivators to cultivate. In the blink of an eye, Xiaochen had stayed here for 7 years. However, it felt like less than 1 year had passed in the outside world. This felt rather wondrous. Mu Zifeng said, "There are still 3 days. You should deal with your matters first. I'll take you away after 3 days." "All right. I'll take my leave first, then." "Wait up." Just at this moment, a voice containing great might rang out. The one who spoke was a Bushan Palace old man. This old man wore hemp robes and looked like an immortal. He showed a dignified expression without showing any anger. He gave off a blazing aura, looking like an inextinguishable sun. No one dared to look at him directly. Senior Jean. When Mu Zifeng saw the old man, his heart sank. He did not dare to be slow. However, Xiaochen did not understand what was going on. This Senior Jean should be a Bushan Palace expert with the Golden Crow bloodline. However, he did not know why Senior Jean stopped him. It seemed like this person did not come with good intentions. The faux god powerhouses of the other factions showed suspicious expressions, guessing what was going on. This should be snatching Xiaochen away. Senior Jean looked at Xiaochen and said, "Xiaochen, someone previously told this old man that you once had a grudge with Ancestor Dragon City." Mu Zifeng felt nervous when he heard that. This was blatantly snatching Xiaochen away. However, Xiaochen's dragon race bloodline was real, so he could not say anything about it. Mu Zifeng's thoughts raced as he said softly, "Senior Jean, Xiaochen did indeed have a grudge with Ancestor Dragon City, which is why he left the Divine Dragon Empire. Right now, he is a free person in the Heavenly Alliance, able to come and go as he pleases. My Heavenly Alliance does not interfere with the internal conflicts of the other factions. Senior, rest assured." Senior Jean smiled and said, "Little Feng, you are treating Xiaochen like an outsider by saying that. No matter what, Xiaochen is a Divine Dragon Empire person. He just suffered some grievances. I have a pretty good relationship with Ancestor Dragon City's old fogies. Xiaochen, if you have any grievances, tell me. I can still help." Xiaochen sighed in his heart. The third palace master was right. If one did not become a sovereign emperor, one was nothing. Back then, if Xiaochen had been a sovereign emperor, there would not have been any problems with that matter in the Divine Dragon Empire. Now that Xiaochen had become a sovereign emperor, the powerhouses of Bushan Palace would be willing to step forward and resolve the matter. Reality was really interesting. However, the grudge between Xiaochen and the Purple Gold Dragon Emperor was not as simple as Senior Jean thought. Xiaochen believed that the Purple Gold Dragon Emperor would give Senior Jean face. However, the dragon race also had its own faction in Bushan Palace. If Xiaochen did not become a dragon emperor, he would just be asking for trouble by remaining in Bushan Palace. Xiaochen said straightforwardly, "Thank you for Senior's kind intentions. It is just a small matter. This junior will deal with it himself." Xiaochen could tell that Senior Jean held a high position among the faux god powerhouses. Xiaochen's words had humiliated this senior powerhouse. It would not be easy to face him in the future. In that case, take it as me saying too much. Senior Jean remained expressionless as he quietly withdrew, not saying anything more. Senior Jean was a senior, a powerhouse of Bushan Palace, much more important than Xiaochen. Clearly, it was impossible for Senior Jean to persuade Xiaochen. However, Mu Zifeng heaved a sigh of relief and said, "Xiaochen, you can withdraw first." Faux God surrounded Xiaochen, making him feel uncomfortable. Fearing that someone would call him again, he quickly left. Just after Xiaochen left, the profound Heaven Holy Land's Gu Fei returned from the True God Palace. As he watched Xiaochen leave, a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Damn it! If I were still here earlier, I would have smacked that fellow to death. When Gu Fei met the Holy Lord earlier, Mu Yunzhu and Gu Yuhan were severely injured. Although they managed to survive, it was hard to say whether they could become sovereign emperors in the future. Gu Fei felt stifled in his heart, feeling very uncomfortable. Paradise's trial was more or less over. Xiaochen had obtained the greatest benefits. 1 thunder cliff tree and 7 permetha lamps. The remaining benefits on the god-conferring platform had to be shared with a group of people. There was nothing more to see. The faux god powerhouses of the 5 super factions shook their heads and sighed as they left one after another. Back in the burial ground, Yuanzhen played with the skulls of the dead, feeling very depressed. "Screw you." Yuanzhen flew into a rage and tossed the skulls in his hand. He did not look like a monk but more like a hooligan, appearing very ruffian. He had found the ethereal Immortal Palace key after much difficulty, but Xiao Qin snatched it away. This truly angered Yuan Zhen. Furthermore, this fellow had become a sovereign emperor. Even if Yuan Zhen wanted to make a move, he could not. After venting his frustration, Yuan Zhen stood up and looked at the vast sea of corpses. Then, he said softly, I really cannot remain in this rundown place. I have to become a sovereign emperor as well. Ha! Yuan Zhen sighed. He felt helpless when he met Xiao Qin. Chapter 2178. After leaving the trial tower, Xiao Qin immediately headed for Fiend Cloud Hall. Lu Benwei showed a faint smile. He had been waiting for a long time already. When he saw Xiao Qin arrive, he performed a cupped fist salute and said, How do you feel about soaring up and becoming a sovereign emperor? Xiao Qin thought for a while before replying seriously, At first, I was very excited. When I looked at the entire paradise, I could clearly feel how insignificant the others were. However, after I left paradise and saw a group of faux god powerhouses, I no longer felt anything. Ha 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 ha. Lu Benwei could not help guffawing when he heard that. Xiao Chen's answer was rather interesting. However, when he thought about it, he found that to be true. This was the faux god world. The faux gods that one could not meet in the Great Thousand Realms were all gathered here. No matter what kind of accomplishments one had, one would not be able to feel proud. Xiao Qin spoke honestly. The instant he advanced to Sovereign Emperor on the god-conferring platform, he had felt hot-bloodedness surge in his body. It was like he had gained a new life. Gu Yuhan and the other three, who were originally strong opponents, were not worth mentioning in his eyes. Only when one truly became a sovereign emperor would one understand the difference between a false emperor and a true sovereign emperor. After leaving paradise, the group of faux gods looked around. This was especially so for Senior Jean, who held a high seniority. Hence, they did not have any other thoughts. Now that Xiao Qin arrived at Fiend Cloud Hall, his mental state had completely calmed down. Xiao Qin thought about how many obstacles he had faced on his path to becoming a martial emperor in the Kunlun realm. He had experienced too much and could already remain calm when facing anything. I'm here to say goodbye, first senior brother. Xiao Qin looked at Lu Benwei. After thinking for a while, he said, First senior brother. Lu Benwei appeared slightly stunned. Then, he asked softly, What did you call me? First senior brother. Although I did not become Senior Fiendish Saber's disciple, we have been together for 5 years. Although we are not master and disciple in name, our relationship has already surpassed that of ordinary master and disciple. Whether Senior Fiendish Saber recognizes me as his disciple or not, he is my master in my heart. In 3 days, he would be leaving the faux god world. There were some things that he would not have the chance to say if he did not say them now. Lu Benwei was quite pleased in his heart. He patted Xiao Chen's shoulder and said, It's good that you have the heart. I have always treated you as my junior brother. Come, follow me to see Master. He should see you. Yes. It was as Lu Benwei said. This time, Fiendish Saber Shimu did not avoid Xiao Qin. Thump. When Xiao Qin saw Shimu seated above, he immediately knelt without saying anything. This junior Xiao Qin will be leaving this faux god world soon. I will never forget Senior Fiendish Saber's various favors. Not to mention how much guidance he had given to Xiao Qin in the past 5 years. Just the life-saving grace a few days ago was enough for Xiao Qin to kneel. Towards this eccentric senior, Xiao Chen's heart had always been filled with awe and respect. This was especially so after Xiao Qin learned that Shimu came from a noble clan of swordsmen but chose the saber Dao. Shimu's expression was clearly stunned for a moment. However, he quickly recovered and said coldly, I'm not your master or your parents. What is there to kneel for? Whoosh. Right after Shimu spoke, he lifted Xiao Qin up with a palm strike, not letting him continue kneeling. Lu Benwei smiled and said, Master, I have worked hard for you. In this trial of true God paradise, I managed to do my best. Xiao Qin was in the limelight this time, occupying 7 lamps on the God-conferring platform. This was unprecedented. Many faux gods were stunned. This time, I am here to say goodbye to you. Shimu retorted with a serious expression, what work? If I go out wrapped in a bedsheet, who knows how many people will laugh at me? I'm leaving. Shimu spoke halfway when he suddenly thought of something. He revealed a melancholic expression and turned to leave. Before he left, he said, stay in Fiend Cloud Hall for the next 3 days. Don't go anywhere else. Xiaochen found this somewhat strange. He still had some friends in the faux god world. It did not seem appropriate for him to stay in Fiend Cloud Hall for the last 3 days. Xiaochen could not help glancing at Lu Benwei, hoping that the other party would say something. Who knew? Lu Benwei smiled and said, Xiaochen, just stay here. If you want to meet anyone, I'll bring them over. Since Lu Benwei already said that, Xiaochen could not rebut, so he nodded slightly. The two chatted for a while. Then, Lu Benwei imparted many of his Sovereign Emperor cultivation experiences to Xiaochen. Sovereign Emperor was just a title, not a realm. The true realm was the Divine Vein Realm. However, everyone had always referred to it as Divine Vein Realm's Sovereign Emperor. Now, the two meant the same thing. After transcending mortality, there were 3 major realms: Veritable Personage, Primal Core, and Cloud Sea. Each realm had 3 stages. At the Cloud Sea realm, there were Star Venerate, Holy Venerate, and Sovereign Personage. However, be it Star Venerate, Holy Venerate, or Sovereign Personage, they were all in the Cloud Sea realm. Above the Cloud Sea realm was the Divine Vein realm. Above the Divine Vein realm was the Supreme Faux God realm. After crossing the Cloud Sea realm, one would be considered to have broken through the limits of cultivation. When one reached the Divine Vein realm, one would start cultivating the soul. The physical body was ordinary. There were 12 meridians, 12 tendons, and so on, forming the major cycle and minor cycle. The meridians ran through the entire body. Veritable essence energy and spiritual energy flowed through the meridians, forming the foundation of cultivation. However, after crossing the Cloud Sea realm and transcending mortality and entering Sage realm, the physical body would undergo a rebirth. It would become an extraordinary body, the Golden Emperor body. When cultivating now, one had to open divine veins. When one opened all 9 divine veins, one would reach great perfection in the Golden Emperor body. One would have an undying body. This undying body could be reborn from just a drop of blood. Even if one's physical body was destroyed, one could reform it with just a drop of blood. Such an opportunity was already beyond the imagination of ordinary people. That was why sovereign emperors were so horrifying. After reaching the Divine Vein realm, we can no longer be called humans? Lu Benwei asked seriously to Xiaochen. However, we are not gods. Divine Vein realm's sovereign emperors are existences that exist between gods and humans. At first, Xiaochen felt that these words sounded strange. How could anyone say that they were not human? However, after thinking about it carefully, how could anyone be reborn from just a drop of blood? How could one survive even after their head and heart were chopped off? There is a total of 9 stages in the Sovereign Emperor realm. 1 divine vein is 1 stage. With every additional divine vein, the divine energy one can condense and the comprehension of the Tao will deepen significantly. If one gathers all 9 divine veins, one can be called a demigod. Such a person can be called a god just short of igniting the divine flame. In reality, one could only be called a faux god. However, in this martial epoch, faux god was already the peak. It would not be wrong to call one a god. Lu Benwei continued, after reaching the Sovereign Emperor realm, one has to forget all the cultivation techniques one cultivated in the past. Divine energy is not something that one can easily drive and refine using one's cultivation techniques. Divine Vein realm cultivation techniques are extremely rare. However, now that you are in the Heavenly Alliance, you will not lack them. Xiaochen listened quietly, not interrupting. Occasionally, he would make note of his doubts in his heart. After Lu Benwei finished, Xiaochen voiced the questions in his heart, and Lu Benwei answered them one by one. This conversation lasted for a long time before Xiao Chen returned to his residence in Fiend Cloud Palace. The Purple Thunder Divine Incantation can no longer help me cultivate. However, I have the 10,000 Dragons art, so I do not need to seek help from the Heavenly Alliance. The 10,000 Dragons art was a cultivation technique of the dragon race that had been passed down since the Great Desolate Eon. After many epochs, it had been continuously improved. Starting today, I will formally cultivate the 10,000 Dragons art. I have to quickly condense a divine vein. Although Xiao Chen was already a sovereign emperor, he had not opened a divine vein yet. According to Lu Benwei, he was only an early-stage sovereign emperor. Xiao Chen had already converted all his veritable essence energy into divine energy. He was no longer like a false emperor, who needed to condense divine energy before he could use it. Sitting down cross-legged, Xiao Chen closed his eyes and sensed his body. The 9-star primal core in his dantian had already shattered, turning into a golden sea. There seemed to be a heart beating strongly under the sea. A vast life force poured into Xiao Chen's body. Divine Energy Sea. The golden divine energy turned into a vast sea. When his consciousness entered, Xiao Chen stood in it. As Xiao Chen walked on the sea, ripples appeared. Immediately, dignified Buddhist chants and ethereal immortal music appeared. All sorts of mysterious phenomena appeared with the ripples. However, Xiao Chen entered deep thought. When he looked up, he saw a vast sea above him. However, that sea was pitch black like ink. The black sea was filled with a tyrannical will to consume. With a thought, the world turned upside down. The place where Xiao Chen's consciousness stood turned into a pitch-black divine energy sea. When he looked up, he saw a golden divine energy sea. At the God-conferring platform, Xiao Chen had chosen the primal chaos divine bridge. Now that he was a sovereign emperor, he actually had 2 divine energy seas. This resolved Xiao Chen's worries. In the future, even if he cultivated a demonic Dao cultivation technique, as long as he did not want to, no one would be able to see his black divine energy sea. The 2 divine energy seas were one and also not one. Xiao Chen could not understand the mysteries behind them. Immortal and Buddha dual cultivation, divine and demonic as one. Xiao Chen did not know what the future would be like. After all, this was a path that no one had taken before. Chapter 2179. Master. Time passed slowly. At some point in time, a soft, cold snort came from the vast Fiend Mountain. Since you are not willing to say more, I will not ask. In any case, you only need to remember that you are now a formal member of the Heavenly Alliance. Although our Heavenly Alliance is not as strong as the other factions, we will not fear trouble. Many people in the faux god world were paying attention to him. Even if he knew who it was, it would be useless. Back at Xiao Chen's residence, he showed a grave expression as he rushed back. His heart pounded heavily, unable to suppress his excitement. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and did not forgive him, returning the bow. The interesting thing was that Lu Benwei called Zhang Yushan and the other 2 over to send off Xiao Chen. Lu Benwei did not mind. He smiled faintly and said, "You are too polite. Take care. With Lord Mu taking care of you, there should not be any problems along the way." 4 hours later, the image of a dragon formed by divine energy burst out of the sea. It roared proudly in all directions, and a dragon roar rang out. However, fiendish saber Shimu did not give Xiao Chen a chance to explain. He shouted coldly and sheathed his saber. The waves scattered, and space returned to normal. That dragon image left in a fluster, feeling like it had been granted amnesty. Scram. Xiao Chen calmed his emotions and continued to circulate the 10,000 dragons art unhurriedly. The 2 chatted for a while. Then, Lu Benwei arrived late to send off Xiao Chen. Zhang Yushan felt incredibly frustrated. These 2 junior brothers are as stupid as dogs, touching my sore spot. Xiao Chen did not deny it. He performed a cupped fist salute and said, "Greetings, Lord Mu." After the assassination attempt failed in the ice-fire wasteland, those people still did not give up. If not for Fiend Cloud Hall, I would have died several times over the past few years. A resplendent saber light flashed above Fiend Cloud Hall. This saber light disappeared in a flash. The saber light was too fast. Even a regular sovereign emperor would not be able to see it clearly. If one was weaker, they might not even see it. Immediately, light and shadows appeared on Xiao Chen's body. Dragon might spread out, looking solid. Xiao Chen turned back to take one last look at the Holy Domain's divine capital. He could vaguely sense that someone was watching him. If it were a regular cultivation technique, even Xiao Chen's Purple Thunder divine incantation, refining divine energy would be difficult. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come. Mu Zifeng asked with some surprise. Clearly, he had some understanding of Shi Mu's reputation. Only today did he suddenly realize that there was such a hidden danger. For the past 5 years, he could have lost his life at any moment. Although this Xiao Chen is not my disciple, he has, after all, stayed in this Demon Cloud Hall for 5 years. This is, Xiao Chen muttered as he looked at a towering mountain in front. The temptation came from this mountain. To think that there was a mountain above the cloud sea. This was a spiritual mountain that contained divinity. The higher one went, the stronger the divinity. One could even see faint divine light overflowing from the shining mountain. At the peak of the mountain, the divine light was so bright that it was somewhat dazzling. This is the heavenly divine mountain. The Heavenly Alliance gathered boundless resources to build this divine mountain. There are boundless benefits for a divine vein realm's sovereign emperor to cultivate on this mountain. However, you can only stay at the foot of the mountain now and cannot climb it. Mu Zifeng explained softly. After arriving at the foot of the divine mountain, Mu Zifeng got someone to arrange a residence for Xiao Chen. Then, he said, you can stay here first. You can walk around more when you have time. There are no forbidden lands in this heaven beyond heaven. I'll take my leave first. Lord Mu, take care. Xiao Chen turned his head and looked at his residence. Then, he nodded slightly, feeling satisfied. Young Master Xiao, do you have any instructions? As Mu Zifeng had personally brought Xiao Chen over, the old man responsible for the handover did not dare to slight him. Xiao Chen shook his head and said, no. All right, I'll go and arrange for servants for young Master Xiao. If you have any instructions in the future, you can come and look for this old man at any time. The grey-clad old man performed a cupped fist salute and took his leave. Arranging for servants is probably a form of monitoring. Xiao Chen sighed in his heart. The Heavenly Alliance is colder than I thought. However, this is understandable. They are not related. How can it be that easy to obtain resources? After entering the residence, Xiao Chen wandered around. This place was much better than his residence in the Heaven Dragon Palace. Aside from the necessities for cultivation, there were all sorts of facilities. This was simply a noble residence. There was even a spirit beast pavilion with all sorts of spirit beasts. After Xiao Chen wandered around, the old man's servants arrived at the entrance of the residence. The leader was a pretty maidservant. Many male and female servants followed behind her, all of them kneeling respectfully. These servants even had all sorts of items placed on top of their heads. Young Master, this servant Bao will be responsible for young Master's daily life in the Heavenly Alliance. What is your name? This servant is Bao. The pretty maidservant replied softly, feeling somewhat bashful. When Xiao Chen heard that, he became somewhat distracted. Bao. Long ago, he had a maidservant called Bao as well. After that, he did not have another maidservant. This was truly a distant memory. Young Master? Bao asked, finding it strange when she saw Xiao Chen in a daze. Xiao Chen recovered his wits and said softly, I am older than you. Just call me Big Brother Xiao. There is no need to address me as master. Alright, Big Brother Xiao. If there are any areas of this residence that require improvement, I'll get the servants to design them for you. Xiao Chen waved his hand and said, there's no need. Let them in first. They just have to help me tidy up. Alright. As the group of servants entered in a single file, Xiao Chen looked around, trying to find the eyes and ears of the Heavenly Alliance. However, after thinking about it, he chose to give up. So what if he found them? If he kept his guard up, he might end up attracting more attention. At that time, he would be even more problematic. Chapter 2181. Under Bao'er's arrangements, the group quickly cleaned up the residence. To Xiao Chen, the residence was already very clean. However, after this cleaning, it actually looked brighter. It would not be an exaggeration to say that it looked brand new. The flowers and grass were trimmed, the walls and doors were repainted, and incense lamps were lit in the room. Wherever one went, one could smell a fresh fragrance, making one feel refreshed. Xiao Chen sighed. Having servants and not having servants were indeed two different living environments. Big Brother Xiao, I have cleaned up the entire residence for you. This herb field has not been developed yet. If you have natural treasures or other spirit herbs, you can replant them here or go to a shop to buy the seeds you need. There are apothecary disciples among the servants who specialize in this. There will also be professionals taking care of those spirit beasts. I guarantee that they will not suffer any losses. Bao'er bowed slightly and asked, is Big Brother Xiao satisfied? When Xiao Chen heard that, he entered deep thought. He could put the herb field aside for now. After all, he was not an alchemist. He did not cultivate cultivation techniques that required natural treasures. However, he could think about the spirit beasts first. Xiao Chen had not had the time to take care of the demon blood vulture, basically letting it roam. With professionals taking care of it, it should be better. Who is in charge of rearing the spirit beasts? Xiao Chen asked, and an old man immediately appeared. He knelt before Xiao Chen and said, Little master, this old servant is in charge of the spirit beasts. Just call me Elder Lu. Master, what instructions do you have? Whoosh. A flash of red light appeared, and the demon blood vulture appeared on Xiao Chen's shoulder. Its wings were scarlet, glistening, and exceptionally beautiful. Do you recognize this bird? Elder Lu's eyes lit up as he answered, This is a demon blood vulture. Rumor has it that it lives in the Ash-Gray Sea, one of the 7 great forbidden seas. Its race is isolated from the rest of the world and hard to capture. It feeds on demonic nature and can consume any demonic nature in the world, growing infinitely. If one can activate its bloodline and feed its spirit blood fruits, it might even be able to recover its ancestral blood and become a great desolate and ferocious beast, the blood phoenix. Master, this demon blood vulture is incredible. Its eyes are golden. It must have an extremely noble bloodline in the demon blood vulture race. What's even rarer is that his bloodline seems to have mutated. There's a very good chance that he'll become a blood phoenix. Hee, of course. My father is the blood vulture king. How can my bloodline not be noble? This old man has good eyesight. I can let him serve me. The demon blood vulture's cocky voice rang out in Xiao Chen's mind. Ignoring it, Xiao Chen sized up the old man and was surprised. He really knew a lot. There were many things that he had never heard of before. However, he still had to continue experimenting. Then, do you know how to nurture the demon blood vulture? Senior Lu smiled and said, This old servant grew up in the beast-taming abode. I spent all my time raising 9,000 kinds of spirit beasts and demonic pets in the world. Although I have never raised a demon blood vulture before, I still know the method. At the side, Bao'er said softly, Big Brother Xiao, this Uncle Lu is a treasure. Xiao Chen once nurtured an underworld ghost bird into a 9-veined sovereign emperor mutated beast. He was one of the top beast tamers in the Heavenly Alliance. If it wasn't for Lord Mu's order, he wouldn't have come with me. Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows and said softly, "My eyesight is poor. I could not tell that Senior Lu was so capable. Sorry for the disrespect. No one in the Heavenly Alliance can be underestimated. What about you?" Xiao Chen turned his head to look at Bao Er and asked her, changing the topic. Bao Er's expression did not change. She smiled mischievously and said, "How can I be capable? I'm just a maid who helps Big Brother Xiao dress and make his bed, serve tea, and pour water." Xiao Chen smiled faintly and did not pursue the matter. He continued, "Senior Lu, tell me how to raise this demon blood vulture." Senior Lu nodded and said, "That will depend on how much resources Master gives me. If there are enough resources, I will definitely feed it demonic spirit fruits every day and bring it to the blood prison once every half a month. Then, I will go to the Spirit Beast Palace to exchange for cultivation techniques and martial techniques for demonic pets. This will also depend on how Master raises it. You can raise it in all aspects or focus on one attribute, like speed, killing intent, or devouring. The demon blood vulture is a rather well-rounded demonic pet. You can raise it however you want. It will depend on Master's preferences." Xiao Chen thought for a while. This Senior Lu is really knowledgeable. He asked in his heart, "Demon blood vulture, are you willing to follow me?" He. "I'm already drooling," the answer went without saying. Xiao Chen said, "From today on, you will be in charge of raising the demon blood vulture. Don't be stingy with resources. May I ask, what is the currency used for transactions in the Heavenly Alliance?" Bao Er replied softly, "Any currency in the Heavenly Alliance will do. After all, we are doing business. Spirit jades, primeval heavenly pills, origin liquid, and divine crystals will do. However, we usually use origin liquid." Xiao Chen entered deep thought. Then, he took out the primeval heavenly pills in his storage ring and the 10,000-year-old herb kings he obtained in paradise and handed them to Bao Er. "Help me exchange them for origin liquid. From today on, you will be in charge of all the expenses in the residence." The amount that Xiao Chen took out was a huge sum, especially the 10,000-year-old herb kings. Originally, Xiao Chen intended to use these herb kings for himself. However, there was no point in using them after refining the Thundercliff tree. When Bao received all this, she did not feel shocked at all. Xiao Chen sighed in his heart. Even the servants of the Heavenly Alliance are servants who have seen the world. "Big Brother Xiao, thank you for your trust. I will help young Master settle this matter within half a day." After Bao counted the items, she agreed without hesitation. "In that case, you all can withdraw first. I need to rest for a while." "All right." After the group took their leave, Xiao Chen went to a medicinal spring in the residence alone. The spring water surged, and spiritual energy spread everywhere. This was a medicinal spring that the Heavenly Alliance's alchemists specially refined for sovereign emperors. After soaking in it, one could eliminate fatigue, nourish one's mind, and remove hidden injuries. If one spent some origin liquid, one could add in medicinal pills to aid one's cultivation. The warm spring water made Xiao Chen feel exceptionally comfortable as he soaked in it. After he closed his eyes, he actually felt drowsy. After advancing to Sovereign Emperor, cultivators basically did not need to sleep. In fact, they found it very difficult to sleep. If one wanted to rest, one only needed to enter a meditative state. However, falling asleep would be somewhat difficult. Many people even found it impossible to fall asleep. Their spiritual sense would remain somewhat awake. However, in reality, sleep was the best nourishment for sovereign emperors. It was even beneficial to cultivation. There should be spirit herbs for calming the mind in the medicinal spring. Otherwise, it would not be so effective. Xiao Chen did not reject this drowsiness, so he fell asleep. When he woke up, Xiao Chen felt refreshed and full of energy. He looked around and discovered that Bao was already standing across from him, holding a white towel in her hand. Mist wafted out. When looking at Bao, who was not far away, he felt like he was looking at flowers in the mist, a hazy yet intense sense of beauty. Splash! Splash! Bao stood up and splashed the spring water. Then, she walked over and wiped down Xiao Chen's body, then helped him put on his clothes. Xiao Chen did not want to stand out in the Heavenly Alliance. Furthermore, he had nothing else on his mind, so he did not avoid these things and did not refuse. Bao found this somewhat strange. Unexpectedly, there were many scars on Xiao Chen's body. They were not as clean as his delicate facial features. Some of the scars even layered over each other. The crisscrossing scars all over his body looked somewhat sinister and scary. When Bao finished helping Xiao Chen put on his clothes, she still felt somewhat unsettled. How long was I asleep? Big brother Xiao happened to have slept for a night. I have already completed the task that you instructed me to do yesterday. I exchanged for a total of 50 tons of origin liquid. I gave old Lu half, and the rest is with me. Does young master need it? Not for now. Keep it for me first. Xiao Chen still had 25 tons of origin liquid on him. That was sufficient for regular cultivation. However, he had not opened his first divine vein yet, so he did not need so much origin liquid. All right. After hesitating for a while, Bao said, young master had best not cultivate for now. You can continue resting. When the Heavenly Alliance's missions come, you might not have time to rest. I'll listen to you. Hence, aside from occasionally cultivating, Xiao Chen spent the rest of his time wandering around the residence. The residence was very large. There were several places that Xiao Chen had not explored. Now was an opportunity. Only 2 days passed peacefully. Then, Xiao Chen's first mission in the Heavenly Alliance arrived. A black-clad administrator hovered above Xiao Chen's residence and said, Heavenly Alliance 2-petal member Xiao Chen, heed my orders. A local sect elder in the Ink Sea cluster is advancing to Sovereign Emperor, threatening the Merchant Association's interests. I order you to go and deal with this problem for the Alliance within 10 days. Otherwise, you will fail the mission, and you will be severely punished. Whoosh! A jade strip fell. Xiao Chen stretched out his hand and caught the jade strip. Then, he placed it on his forehead and checked it, gaining a rough understanding of the situation. Big brother Xiao, should I get old Lu to call the demon blood vulture over? Bao asked. There's no need. The demon blood vulture is in the early stages of nurturing and is not suited for battle. Help me take care of the residents. Xiao Chen's figure flashed, and he followed the administrator to the Heavenly Alliance's Dao platform. Chapter 2182. The Constellation Zone referred to the Constellation Zone. In the Great Thousand Worlds, there was a sea of stars at the center of many star fields, and then they were named after the sea. For example, the Graves Sea cluster that Xiao Chen once stayed in. The various cluster zones were now like stars surrounding the moon, surrounding the Central Great Realm. The outer regions that the Central Great World cultivators spoke of mostly referred to these cluster zones. In the eyes of the Central Great World cultivators, the outer regions were like the countryside. Apart from some special clusters in the outer Endless Sea, most of the outer Endless Sea clusters didn't have enough connate spiritual qi, and the inheritances weren't complete enough, so the competition wasn't fierce enough. It was very difficult for an imperial lord to be born. As a sovereign personage, one could dominate the outer seas and enjoy the treatment of the Central Great Realm's foe gods. The Graves Sea cluster that Xiao Chen once stayed in was like this. On the surface, it did not have a single sovereign personage. Perhaps only some rank 4 sects had sovereign personages nearing the end of their lifespans. Normally, such sovereign personages would not appear. The Ink Sea cluster was much stronger than the Graves Sea cluster. It had 2 rank 5 sects, and the sect masters were sovereign personages. Many of the supreme elders were heaven-defying sovereign personages and even false emperors. However, in the past 1,000 years, there had never been an imperial lord. The various factions maintained a delicate balance, but now, a rank 1 sect had an imperial lord. This was incredible. Xiao Chen was very clear about how strong a sovereign emperor was. In front of a sovereign emperor would only need one move to kill a sovereign emperor. No matter how many powerful trump cards one had, it would be useless. Even if one had a soul tool, it would only be a slight deterrent. If one side suddenly became stronger, the balance would be broken, and the original distribution of benefits would naturally need to be reshuffled. Xiao Qin was going to the Ink Sea cluster to protect the benefits of the Heavenly Alliance's subsidiary merchant associations. He could not give up his own benefits just because the other party had a sovereign emperor. The mission did not specify a specific solution. He could choose to kill this newly advanced imperial lord or negotiate with him. There were many methods, but there was only one goal: to ensure the benefits of the Heavenly Alliance's affiliated merchant associations. The better this task was done, the higher the merit would be. Otherwise, there would be punishment. Using the Dao platform at Sky Beyond Heaven, Xiao Qin teleported to a Dao platform near the Ink Sea cluster. This Dao platform belonged to everyone, not the Heavenly Alliance alone. By the time Xiao Qin set foot on the Ink Sea, half a day had passed. Their expressions were incomparably grave as they looked at the items placed in the center of the hall in silence. That object was the head of the 10 Cauldron Chamber of Commerce's president. After the group of people received the heads, they discussed for an entire night, but they still couldn't come up with any ideas. The Azure Smoke sect master, Luo Yun, did not look old, like a middle-aged man. He was dressed in a long green robe and had a scholarly temperament. There was a sharp aura hidden between his brows. That was the foundation of an overlord. Everyone, we've discussed for an entire night, but we still haven't come up with a good idea? Luo Yun glanced at the elders gathered in the ancestral hall and said in a deep voice. There were not many elders. However, even the weakest was a holy venerate. 4 or 5 of the older ones were even sovereign personages. The Azure Smoke sect's entire foundation was here. Even without Qinyan Shangren, the Azure Smoke sect could be considered a peak existence among rank 5 sections. Those who could stand here naturally had some vision. They could tell that this was not a simple murder. Before a heaven-defying person died, Xiao Qin had silently killed another sovereign personage. Everyone was very clear on what kind of strength one needed to achieve this. This was especially so for that martial uncle Jiang. After he returned, he looked like he had seen a ghost. Clearly, he had suffered a huge trauma in his heart. A false emperor could not make martial uncle Jiang feel such fear. What kind of existence was above false emperor? No one dared to think about it, nor did they want to. They could only continue playing dumb when faced with Luo Yun's question. This is indeed making things difficult for everyone. Luo Yunlong, who was sitting on the throne, let out a soft sigh. There was a trace of exhaustion on his face. Originally, martial uncle Qin Yan should have been in charge of this matter. Unfortunately, Qin Yan Shangren was currently in closed-door cultivation. Even when Luo Yun summoned him several times, he ignored him. Naturally, there was no solution to this difficult problem before everyone. Actually, Luo Yun guessed something. As the sect master of a rank 5 sect, he naturally knew some of the secrets of the Central Great Realm. Several thousand years ago, a sovereign emperor had appeared in the Ink Sea cluster. However, that sovereign emperor did not unify the Ink Sea. There seemed to be an invisible hand controlling the Ink Sea's movements in the unseen world. This kept the various factions of the Ink Sea in balance, preventing one faction from becoming too strong and monopolizing the Ink Sea. Even though martial uncle Qin Yan had become a sovereign emperor, Luo Yun did not want to drive the other factions to the edge. He feared that something bad would happen if this balance was broken. Although Luo Yun did not know what would happen, he still felt worried. However, martial uncle Qin Yan was stubborn, and the other elders were eager to try. Even if Luo Yun wanted to, he could not. Over the past 2 odd years, the Azure Smoke sect had continuously grown stronger, showing a flourishing momentum. This further dispelled Luo Yun's worries. Unexpectedly, the thing he worried about the most happened. This sigh contained some helplessness. Luo Yun was limited by his knowledge and vision. He could guess something, but he did not know what was going on. This was the helplessness he felt the most. The 5 super factions secretly controlled the entire Great Thousand Realms. Without reaching a certain level, one would not know about this. Even many sovereign personages in the Central Great Realm did not know about the Heavenly Alliance. How much could Luo Yun, a rank 5 sect master of the Ink Sea, know? Martial nephew, what are you worrying about? This sigh is very puzzling. Haha. Just at this moment, laughter rang out. Then, a skinny old man suddenly appeared in the ancestral hall. Although this old man was skinny, his frail body gave off a frightening energy that could not be underestimated, appearing unfathomable. Old ancestor. You finally came out of closed-door cultivation. We were all scared out of our wits last night. Indeed. Quickly, think of a solution. This person was the most famous person in the Ink Sea for the past 2 years, the Qingyan Shangren, whom nearly everyone knew. Luo Yun's eyes lit up. He felt that his martial uncle's strength had improved significantly, becoming even more unfathomable. He quickly stepped forward and said, "Martial uncle, please take a seat." Qingyan Shangren did not stand on ceremony. He sat down in the seat that Luo Yun vacated. As he looked at the heads below, he smiled sinisterly. This fellow is finally dead. Whoosh! Qingyan Shangren stretched out his hand, and the head of the 10 Cauldron Merchant Association's chief flew into his hand. Then, there was a loud bang. Only a skull remained amid the azure smoke. Qingyan Shangren ferociously grabbed, and the skull turned into powder and fell to the ground. Everyone, including Luo Yun, showed startled expressions. This time, they were truly frightened. "Martial uncle." Luo Yun called out, feeling somewhat anxious. "This fellow is just a pawn that I placed in front of me. He will die sooner or later. It was worth it to be able to roam free for 2 years and suppress the 9 Cauldron Merchant Association." Qingyan Shangren waved his hand and said, "As for the rest, martial nephew, there is no need to worry. I already made arrangements. If he had come a year earlier, I might have been in some trouble. As for now, this old man is waiting for him. If he dares to come, I will make sure that he never returns. As you wish, I am here." Bang! Right after the old man spoke, the doors of the ancestral hall, which were reinforced by formations, shattered. A strong wind blew at the broken doors, and a dazzling light as bright as the sun appeared, so bright that no one could open their eyes. A figure slowly appeared from the light. This figure was dressed in white, and he strode in with his head held high. How young! When the Azure Smoke sect elders saw this person's appearance, they all sighed in their hearts, feeling somewhat shocked. This was the person that the old ancestor was waiting for. This was the mysterious person that scared their martial uncle Jiang silly. Yi Weimian looked too young. Based on his appearance, he did not even look 50 years old. Naturally, the person who came was Shao Qin. The head had been delivered to the Azure Smoke sect for 1 night, but the person he was waiting for had not arrived yet. Not wanting to waste time, Shao Qin came himself. I was wondering why the person did not arrive after 1 night. It turns out that you already condensed a divine vein. How admirable! How admirable! It is already not easy for you to advance to Sovereign Emperor in this desolate place. Now that you have condensed a divine vein, it is even more shocking. Shao Qin glanced indifferently at the somewhat blind people. Then, he said softly, "Do you not understand what I said? Even in the Central Great Realm, this martial granduncle of yours can be considered a top character." These words were true. Even in the Central Great Realm, it was extremely difficult to advance to Sovereign Emperor. Old ancestor, clearly, the Azure Smoke sect's elders did not know how strong Qingyan Shangren was or where he ranked in the Central Great Realm. Qingyan Shangren revealed a cocky expression, gladly accepting Shao Chen's praise. Being able to advance to Sovereign Emperor in this Ink Sea already boosted Qingyan Shangren's ambition, filling him with pride. This was the so-called instant success. However, that is all. In the end, the accumulations in the Ink Sea are lacking. Forcefully plundering the Ink Sea's resources to condense a divine vein is even more foolish. You probably do not even have a divine vein level cultivation technique to cultivate. Such a sovereign emperor would not be able to cause much trouble in the central great realm. No wonder you only know how to put on airs in this Ink Sea. Who could have imagined that Xiao Qin would suddenly change the topic, belittling Qinyan Shangren as worthless? Qinyan Shangren was already extremely proud of advancing to sovereign emperor. He even felt that the sovereign emperors of the central great realm would not be much stronger than him. Earlier, Qinyan Shangren enjoyed Xiao Chen's words. So, he prepared to negotiate with Xiao Chen about the Nine Cauldron Merchant Association. Who could have imagined that Xiao Chen's words would suddenly change the topic, deeply stabbing at Qinyan Shangren's pride? Rage flared up in his heart. The atmosphere in the hall immediately turned strange. The azure smoke sex elders were frightened into silence. Everyone could tell that this youth had touched on the old ancestors' reverse scale. An icy chill spread in the hall. Qinyan Shangren showed a sullen expression, his skinny face filled with murderous intent. A great battle would start at any moment. Chapter 2184. The atmosphere in the ancestral hall turned strange. No one dared to speak. The group of elders, including Luo Yun, felt increasingly unbearable. The hall was so quiet that one could hear their breathing and heartbeats. Despite this unbearable feeling, they did not dare to move. It was like they feared breaking some sort of balance. Normally, these sovereign personages could call the wind and summon the rain in this Ink Sea cluster, supreme existences. Even though sovereign emperors appeared, sovereign personages were still incredibly rare in this Ink Sea cluster. Wherever they went, they were aloof and aloof. When had these sovereign emperors ever felt so unbearable? To put it bluntly, they did not even dare to let out a fart. The battle between Xiao Chen and Qinyan Shangren had already started. The two's auras clashed, their auras spreading to every corner of the hall. Both were storing up power in secret, searching for the other's openings, trying to suppress the other's aura. The invisible auras were already incredibly intense. Everyone here was a sovereign personage and naturally understood the profoundness of this. At this moment, if anyone dared to move, it would be like adding oil to the fire. Bang! Everything would explode. It was like time stopped in the hall. No one moved at all, their expressions did not even change. Qinyan Shangren felt somewhat shocked. Although this youth before him had not opened any divine veins, his aura moved according to his heart. However, his aura moved according to his will, moving as he pleased. There were no openings at all. It could be said to be perfect. Dragon images seemed to appear behind Xiao Chen, howling and roaring ferociously. That was dragon might. This was a powerful outstanding talent with a great desolate Ian bloodline. Ka-Ca. Just at this moment, one of the Azure Smoke Hall elders felt somewhat unbearable, so he shifted his body slightly. However, the sound amplified infinitely at this moment. It was like a drop of water falling into a calm lake. However, it did not kick up ripples. Instead, it kicked up a deafening wave like a tsunami. Luo Yun's face sank. Knowing that things were bad, the group of elders executed their movement techniques and quickly moved far away. In that instant, the limit of stillness shifted to the limit of movement. It was like these people came back to life. The elders already moved very fast. However, they were not faster than Xiao Chen and Qinyan Shangren. The incorporeal dragon image behind Xiao Chen gathered together, turning from incorporeal to corporeal, turning into a huge azure dragon image that roared furiously into the 9 heavens. Qinyan Shangren's expression turned cold as he slapped the armrest heavily. He mobilized all the accumulations of the entire Qinyan Peak sect. The illusion of a huge incense burner appeared in front of him. There were 3 incense sticks in the incense burner, and green smoke curled around them. Qinyan Shangren flicked his finger, and the lingering azure smoke immediately turned into thousands of sword images that shot out. The 2 auras collided in an instant. With a loud bang, the green smoke ancestral hall collapsed into nothingness. Puchi. Luo Yun and the other elders of the Azure Smoke Hall spat out a mouthful of blood at the same time. The weaker elders, who were only at the Holy Venerate realm, even died on the spot from the shockwaves of the two auras. Not only did Luo Yun and the others not have the qualifications to interfere in this battle, but they might even lose their lives if they were careless. When sovereign emperors fought, the scale of the battle was already beyond what these sovereign personages could imagine or resist. Dang! The melodious sound of weapons clashing rang out, echoing throughout the entire heavenly cloud mountain. This blessed land, which was as large as a great realm, buzzed endlessly and trembled. The heavenly cloud mountain was very large and vast. It was at least 100 million kilometers long. In the past, dozens of rank 4 sects lived in this place. One could easily imagine how vast it was. However, this heavenly cloud mountain was also very small. To Xiao Chen and Qin Shangren, who were fighting, just the shockwaves could cover most of heavenly cloud mountain. Whoosh! A purple figure retreated from heavenly cloud mountain's main peak. As he retreated, he crashed into many peaks, kicking up huge waves in the seawater. Xiao Chen was not retreating alone. Instead, he was retreating with his aura. He did not crash into the tall peaks. Instead, his aura crushed them, turning them into surging tsunamis along with the seawater. Humph! How dare you disrespect me on Heavenly Cloud Mountain? Not to mention the fact that you have not opened a divine vein. Even if you did, you would not be a match for me. Qin Shangren stood proudly on the mountain summit. At this moment, his slender body seemed to contain boundless might, inspiring others to look up at him like looking at the sky. A strong wind blew as Qin Shangren looked coldly at Xiao Chen, who got knocked back. Then, he said sullenly, "You have a great background. I will not kill you. I will use you as a bargaining chip. My Azure Smoke Pavilion will dominate the Ink Sea, and we will not have to worry about anything in the future." Old Ancestor. When the many Azure Smoke Pavilion disciples saw Qin Shangren's majestic appearance and bold words, they felt their hot-bloodedness surge endlessly. Whoosh! Xiao Chen gently pushed off the surface of the sea, stopping his retreating figure. At the same time, the surging mountain-like seawater slowly fell back. However, the way it fell was incredibly gentle, following Xiao Chen's aura and spreading out again. What was even more miraculous was that the tall mountain that Xiao Chen crushed earlier actually retreated together with the seawater. It looked like time and space had reversed. In reality, it was just reuniting with Xiao Chen's aura. The mountain had already shattered. The mountain that Xiao Chen saw was only the mountain that existed in Xiao Chen's aura. It was like a painting. When Xiao Chen retreated, the white clouds, mountains, rivers, and sunlight had already entered the painting. Now, the painting was just reuniting. Xiao Chen looked at Qin Shangren, who stood proudly on the main peak like he was the sovereign of the world. However, Xiao Chen was not surprised at the other party's strength. A sovereign emperor's accumulations would not be child's play when a rank 5 sect erupted. However, since Xiao Chen dared to come, he had to have considered the other party's geographical advantage. You are courageous. After seeing my Azure Smoke Pavilion's accumulations, you still dare to not flee. Youths are like this, not fearing anything, thinking that they are fated. Today, I will teach you a lesson and show you what fear is. Qin Shangren smiled coldly. Then, he casually waved his hand, and the azure smoke lingering around the incense burner circled around his fingertip. At the instant his thumb and index finger came into contact with each other, countless sword cries resounded. They were loud and clear, and they seemed to descend from the heavens and descend from the netherworld. Since the establishment of the Azure Smoke Pavilion, the many disciples had been using their swords to visualize the incense burner every day. They used their bodies as swords to worship the incense burner, accumulating accumulations for 100 years, 1,000 years, countless days and nights. Qin Shangren flicked his finger, and thousands of sword hums gathered. This sword hum pierced through the entire blessed land from north to south. Stimulated by this sword hum, Heavenly Cloud Mountain's 300-kilometer-tall main peak erupted with resplendent light, looking like a sharp sword illuminating the entire blessed land. Aside from the strand of sword light that Xianxia Xianxia flicked out for 50 million kilometers, only black and white remained in the world. The sword light illuminated Xiao Chen's eyes, making his handsome facial features look even more distinct. The sword wind scattered Xiao Chen's long hair, making him appear even more unruly and unruly. The sword light, which carried the sex accumulations, looked like it could split the world apart. Then, it instantly charged over. Everyone in the Azure Smoke Pavilion gasped in amazement at this sword strike. They had only heard of the sect's founding ancestor and the legends, having once flicked out such a strand of sword chi. Now, they saw it with their own eyes. It was like the legends unfolded before them. The shock was indescribable. Everyone thought that Xiao Chen would die for sure under this sword strike. Even if he did not die, he would be severely injured, unable to fight anymore. Xiao Chen showed a grave expression, but he did not fluster in the face of danger. The yin and yang divine essence seized in his body silently merged, and the Taiji force field spread out. Whoosh! The instant the Taiji force field appeared, a light burst out from Xiao Chen's body in the originally black and white world. The entire world regained its color. This was Xiao Chen using his own strength to suppress the other party with his aura, breaking the momentum of this sword strike. However, Xiao Chen did not dare to receive this sword strike head-on. This sword strike carried the accumulations of a sect that had accumulated for thousands of years. If he tried to receive it, it would be like an ant trying to shake a tree, overestimating himself. Not to mention whether he could receive it or not, he would be too stupid to do so. After the sword chi entered the Taiji force field, it looked like it could travel through space and time. However, to Xiao Chen, it slowed significantly. Whoosh! Xiao Chen pushed off with his feet and gently moved, looking like he had dodged this sword strike by a fluke. When the sword chi entered the sea, it was like a stream flowing into the sea, silently vanishing. This was because the charm contained in the sword chi had automatically dissipated after losing its target, and the sect's foundation had returned to the mountains and rivers. He dodged it. This startled Xianxia Xianxia. To think that Xiao Chen managed to dodge his sure-hit sword strike. He could not help saying angrily, "Let's see how many sword strikes you can dodge." Xianxia Xianxia flicked his finger, and another strand of sword chi that seemed to travel through space and time charged at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen did not dare to be careless. He drove the primal chaos divine energy in his body to the limits and used the Taiji force field to carefully slow down Xianxia Xianxia's speed, narrowly dodging again. Whoosh! 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 Damn it! I don't believe that I cannot kill you. Xianxia Xianxia felt somewhat flustered and exasperated after failing to hit his target. He flicked his finger, and strands of sword intent shot at Xiao Chen without end. Day and night immediately sped up in the blessed land. Sometimes, only black and white remained. Another moment, the colors returned to normal. It was like the rising and setting of the sun were sped up. The Azure Smoke sect disciples were horrified to discover that as day and night sped up, their faces aged. Their fine black hair turned white. It was like time sped up several times. Let's see how long you can last. Under the berserk attacks, Xiao Chen appeared somewhat unable to hold out. Xianxia Xianxia could not help laughing cockily. Just as he was about to make another move, enough. Xiao Chen, who had been silent all this while, suddenly shouted. This shout was like a clap of thunder, immediately kicking up countless huge waves on the vast sea. You are really vicious. Draining the sex accumulations like this, completely disregarding the life and death of the disciples. I have a saber strike. Please give it a try. Gurgle. An unremarkable drop of seawater soared into the air amid the huge waves. Xiao Chen moved like a swallow, looking like he was about to fly but not soar. Then, he flicked his finger. Fiendish saber inheritance, water droplet shaking the firmament. Chapter 2185. A drop of water could break the vault of heaven. Wuxia Xianxia used his one-vein sovereign emperor cultivation to drive the sect's thousand-year-old accumulations. He used the 30-kilometer-tall peak under his feet as a sword, and hundreds of strands of sword qi could cause the mountains, rivers, sun, and moon to pale in comparison. Shao Qin would be defeated with just one strike. Shao Qin, who could drive Taiji with primal chaos divine energy, finally recovered. Shao Qin's counterattack was as insignificant as a speck of dust in front of the sword qi of mountains and rivers. What he flicked out was a drop of water, a drop of rain, a drop of sweat that contained the inheritance of the devil blade. The scorching sun had tortured it for 3,333 years, the gale had battered it for 3,333 years, and the lightning had struck it for 3,333 years. Over the past 9,999 years, the thunderstorm, the gale, and the scorching sun could not change his heart. What is a demon? Lonely as I am, 10,000 years of time hanging high in the 9 heavens, I exist alone. What is a demon? Just like me, I am so proud that even the heavens cannot tolerate my heart. This was the second move of the fiendish saber inheritance, using the state of water droplets to break the sky. This drop of water was so tiny that if one did not look carefully, they would not even notice it. But once one discovered it, they would never be able to forget it. It was so ordinary, yet so special. It was a demon. It's a drop of water. He flicked a drop of water. What is he trying to do? It's clearly just a drop of water, so why do I feel like I'm shivering and my legs aren't listening to me? Damn it, what's going on? Damn it, what the hell happened? Initially, when he saw this drop of water, he didn't think much of it. But soon, he found himself unable to shift his gaze away from it, and his legs wouldn't listen to him. How strange and bewitching. Wuxia Xianxia was somewhat dumbfounded. This raindrop that Shao Qin flicked out completely surpassed his common sense. Although Shao Qin was not a sovereign emperor, his knowledge was limited. He had never heard of the fiendish saber's name or seen such a martial technique. He knew that this raindrop was extraordinary, but he couldn't think of a way to deal with it. Not just for a moment, but with his experience, even if he racked his brains, he still wouldn't be able to think of a way to deal with it. If they had the advantage of the terrain, it would have been impossible for them to suppress Shao Qin before by consuming the foundation that the sect's disciples had been accumulating for thousands of years. I don't believe that a mere drop of water can overturn the heavens. Wuxia Xianxia shouted coldly. Then, he waved his hand at the 3 incense sticks in the incense burner and wiped them gently. The little accumulations that the sect had accumulated were immediately drained. Anyway, if there were people in the dark, he wouldn't have to worry about his life. After heading to the Starry Sky Dao platform, Shao Qin returned directly to the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters. As soon as he set foot on Sky Beyond Heaven, the deacon who gave him the mission was already waiting for him. Shao Qin cupped his hands and said, "Deacon Mu." Deacon Mu nodded slightly. "The headquarters gave you a 5-star evaluation. You got full marks for both the time you took to complete the mission and the results. Congratulations on completing the mission. You've been awarded 1,000 merit points." As he spoke, he took out his Heavenly Alliance medallion and stuck it to Shao Qin's medallion. Then, Shao Qin noticed that the number 1,000 had appeared on the back of his token under the 2 plum blossom petals. The number was well embedded in the vast white snow. If one did not look carefully, it would be hard to notice. You can exchange the merit points for resources. However, after you exchange them, the corresponding merit points will vanish. Deacon Mu gave Shao Qin a simple explanation before turning to leave, not lingering. However, before he left, he gave Shao Qin a few more glances, like he wanted to remember him. As Shao Qin toyed with the Heavenly Alliance medallion, he thought to himself, to think that there is no reward for completing the mission. Is the merit the reward? However, If I exchange the merit points, I will have to wait to raise the rank of my plum blossom petals. While it looks like I am obtaining merit points for completing the mission, if I exchange them for resources frequently, the day I raise my plum blossom petals will be far away. The Heavenly Alliance must have done this on purpose. After returning to his residence, Xiaochen greeted Bao. Then, he entered the medicinal spring room, removed his clothes, and soaked himself in. The medicinal spring had a healing effect. When he fought with Qingyan Shangren, he had suffered some injuries from sword qi. This soaking could relieve his fatigue, heal his injuries, and eliminate hidden injuries. It was indeed pretty good. Xiaochen closed his eyes and fell asleep. When he woke up, Bao was already waiting for him. She helped Xiaochen put on his clothes. Big brother Xiao, you completed this mission really quickly. You completed it in less than 3 days. After helping Xiaochen put on his clothes, Bao smiled softly and said, "Many of the deacons are praising you. If they were all as efficient as you, there would not be a lack of manpower." Xiaochen did not deny it. After chatting with Bao for a while, he entered the cultivation room and entered closed-door cultivation. Cultivating at the foot of the Heavenly Alliance's divine mountain was much faster than cultivating outside. He could clearly feel the divine energy in his body rejoicing. Xiaochen wondered how this divine mountain was forged for it to have such miraculous effects. As the 10,000 dragons art circulated, many different dragon images appeared in his divine energy sea. After 100 dragon images appeared, they stopped. Xiaochen was still far from forming the 10,000 dragons picture and reaching the first step of the 10,000 dragons art. However, Xiaochen still had a long time ahead of him. With this divine mountain to rely on, he could save a lot of time. Xiaochen's days of quiet cultivation did not last long. After 3 days, he received missions. Xiaochen, who was only a 2-petal plum blossom cultivator, did not have any free time. Now, he finally understood what Bao meant by resting more. Otherwise, he would not have any time to rest. Xiaochen did not say anything unnecessary. He just took the missions and left, completing them at the fastest speed possible. His efficiency was flabbergasting. In a short year, Xiaochen became famous in the Heavenly Alliance. Everyone knew about this white-clad bladesman. This was because Xiaochen needed only 1 year to become a 3-petal flower. Xiaochen did not use any of the contribution points for completing the missions. He saved them all up. When he met the requirements, he immediately chose to raise his cultivation. To Xiaochen, the Heavenly Alliance's divine mountain was sufficient for his needs. Little brother Xiaochen, are you sure that you are in such a rush to raise your cultivation? Administrator Mu, who was already very familiar with Xiaochen, said out of goodwill, you can exchange these contribution points for many resources. If you choose to raise your cultivation, you will lose all of them. Xiaochen replied calmly, I know. However, I have my own arrangements. The higher one's cultivation, the more contribution points one can obtain for completing missions. The highest reward for a 2-petal flower is only 1,000 contribution points. The lowest reward for a 3-petal flower is 10,000 contribution points. This will depend on how it is calculated. There was one more thing that Xiaochen did not say. If a 3-petal flower could choose its own missions, it would not be as passive as before. Administrator Mu smiled and said, since you have made your choice, I will not say anything more. Xiaochen returned the Heavenly Alliance medallion to Xiaochen. Then, another of the 8 plum blossoms lit up on the snowy scene on the back, making a total of 3. The numbers under the plum blossoms all turned to 0. Xiaochen would stand on a new starting point. This is for you. Xiaochen found this somewhat strange. Then, he received a jade bottle from Administrator Mu. When he opened it, he saw that it contained 5 tons of origin liquid. This was a large sum. Even after selling the 10,000-year-old herb kings, Xiaochen had only obtained 50 tons of origin liquid. This is, Xiaochen asked, feeling confused. Administrator Mu explained, this is the Heavenly Alliance's reward for you. All the lords saw your contributions for themselves in the past year. Originally, with the contribution points you obtained, it would have been a large reward. You could have even exchanged for an inferior grade soul tool. However, you did not exchange for it, which was equivalent to doing nothing. The lords felt that they could not let you down. They did not know what you needed, so they gave you 5 tons of origin liquid. When Xiaochen thought about it, he felt that this was true. He had worked hard in the past year. Normally, he did not feel much. This was because he felt that being in the Heavenly Alliance was the greatest reward. He had a divine mountain to cultivate on, a demon blood vulture to nurture, and combat experience to temper himself as a sovereign emperor. Honestly speaking, although these days were dull and tiring, they suited Xiaochen. Although Xiaochen had not opened a divine vein in the past year, his 10,000 dragons art progressed rapidly. He was only one step away from condensing the 10,000 dragons picture. Many thanks. Xiaochen thanked Administrator Mu softly as he put away the jade bottle. Origin liquid was good stuff. He would not reject something that came to him for free. Administrator Mu smiled faintly and called out to Xiaochen, who was about to turn around. Don't be in a rush to leave. The Alliance Chief wants to see you. The Heavenly Alliance's Alliance Chief was one of the leaders of the 5 super factions of the Righteous Dao. He was one of the people who stood at the peak of the martial epoch. Although Xiaochen was in the Heavenly Alliance, it was impossible for him to request an audience with the Heavenly Alliance Chief. There was too much of a difference in their levels. Why are you looking for me? Xiaochen asked in a deep voice. His expression remained calm, not showing much fluctuation. Administrator Mu waved his hand and said, "How could I know about such things? However, he is not meeting me alone this time. Grim Reaper Lin Feng is going as well." Chapter 2187. There was a divine mountain in heaven beyond heaven. At the summit of the divine mountain was a residence. Aside from the Heavenly Alliance's Alliance Chief, no one else was qualified to reside at the summit of this divine mountain. Under Administrator Mu's lead, Xiaochen headed for the divine mountain summit. As Xiaochen advanced, he felt the mysteriousness of the divine mountain. The foot of the mountain could not compare to the middle of the mountain. The density of the divine nature was like night and day. No wonder people wanted to climb higher. They needed to live high, be strong, and possess a high status. They needed to be aloof, looking down from above, enjoying others looking up to them. There was no need to describe the mysteriousness of the Alliance Chief's residence. With just one glance, Xiaochen felt somewhat helpless. Every brick and tile was made of alloy and decorated with spirit herbs and celestial flowers. There was a sense of elegance in the atmosphere. This was the so-called paradise. "Little brother Xiaochen, please enter." "I'm not qualified to enter," Administrator Mu said with some envy. One could see the entire Heavenly Alliance great realm from the summit of this divine mountain. It was not easy to enter the residence and meet the Alliance Chief. Xiaochen nodded and entered the residence with his head held high. There was no one in the hall to guide him, but there was only one path. He just had to keep walking forward. Pawns lined both sides of the path. There were elegant and ancient murals on the walls. Xiaochen did not know which epoch they were in. As he walked, he pushed open a door. Then, Xiaochen figured that he should be in the main hall. A person stood in the hall. It was Grim Reaper Lin Feng, who had arrived earlier. When he saw Xiaochen, he nodded slightly in greeting. Xiaochen nodded back in greeting. He felt admiration for this Grim Reaper Lin Feng. Xiaochen heard that Lin Feng was once a sovereign emperor in the abyssal underworld. However, he betrayed the abyssal underworld and destroyed his demonic Dao cultivation technique. Lin Feng's cultivation returned to its starting point and started over. Then, he rose up again, comprehending the Death Great Dao and the Death Dao domain. He surpassed his previous peak and was extremely incredible. Rumor had it that Lin Feng's master betrayed him, offering his lover with an extreme body to the underworld God Hall's Vice Hall master. This person exuded an extremely heavy death qi. He did not befriend others and kept a low profile. He did not have much of a presence in the Heavenly Alliance. However, his strength made it so that no one could ignore his existence. All of the information about him were just rumors. Xiao Chen heard that he had directly become a disciple of Swearen Ji, the same Swearen Ji who had wanted to recruit Xiao Chen. "How long have you been here?" Xiao Chen walked over and asked softly. This little bastard actually dared to reject my invitation back then. He must be tired of living. Now, he even dares to be so close to Mu Zifeng. How reckless. Lin Feng grabbed the dragon-killing arrow flying at him. He felt his soul tremble. This was the innate fear of the dragon race bloodline toward the Ho. However, Lin Feng was Lin Feng, after all. After holding the arrow for a while, a ruthless look appeared in his eyes. Unexpectedly, he suppressed the might of the arrow. "Very good. I hope that you can bring back not only the holy relic but also Xiao Chen's head." Swearen Ji revealed a satisfied smile. He liked ruthless people like Lin Feng, who were ruthless to themselves and even more ruthless to their enemies. Chapter 2189. After sending off Mu Zifeng, Xiao Chen made preparations for his trip to the Abyssal Underworld and Lin Feng's meeting at the summit of the Abyssal Underworld 3 days later. The two of them nodded slightly and greeted each other. Even though they were both feeling a little strange, there was no trace of it on their faces. They were extremely calm. It didn't take long for Hua Tianyang and the 7 core Grand Elders to arrive. "It looks like you're almost done with your preparations. I won't be able to send you off on this trip. Ku Yun, help me send the two of them off." Unexpectedly, Hua Tianyang did not send Mu Zifeng or Swearen Ji. Instead, another core doyen, Ku Yun, did it. This Ku Yun was known as Master Ku Yun. Among the core doyens, he was in charge of the Heavenly Alliance's blacksmithing and blacksmithing matters. He never competed with others. "Follow me." Whoosh! A figure that seemed to have jumped from the other side of the world appeared before the two of them. It was Master Ku Yun. Xiao Chen and Lin Feng followed Master Ku Yun to the Heavenly Alliance's Dao platform. The Netherworld was located beneath the Central World. It was composed of 9 realms and had its own laws. It was equivalent to the dark side and shadow of the Central World. The two were interdependent, and neither could destroy the other. "Huh! Xiao Chen, your alloy battle armor seems to have reached 2 stars. Master Ku Yun exclaimed in shock when he saw Xiao Chen's gloves. Lin Feng, who was at the side, also looked over in surprise. The upgrade of alloy battle armor required an enormous amount of resources, and he was still stuck at a 1-star alloy battle armor. Xiao Chen's expression did not change as he said calmly, "I used all the resources in the faux god world on the alloy battle armor. When I returned to the Heavenly Alliance, I asked Lord Mu Zifeng to upgrade it. No wonder. Come, let's head to the Central World first." It was just a small matter, so it was over after a brief mention. Through the Dao platform's teleportation, he arrived at the Central World. Xiao Chen looked at the familiar surroundings and felt slightly shocked. This place seemed to be the Desolate Sea. Desolate City was not far ahead. Is this barren city? Indeed. We should do our best to keep a low profile. The Desolate Sea is a good place to hide from others. Come, I'll send you to the Abyssal Underworld. Master Ku Yun used his own cultivation to carry Xiao Chen and Lin Feng. Soon, they arrived at a deep chasm. Demonic energy gushed out from the pitch-black abyss. The surroundings were secluded, and there was no one in the wilderness. This was one of the more secretive passageways from the Central World to the Abyssal Underworld. Very few people knew about it. This 10,000 demon abyss is too dangerous and leads directly to the 9th layer of the abyssal underworld. Very few people use it. You too should be careful," said Master Ku Yun as he looked at the bottomless abyss filled with unknown dangers. Xiao Chen and Lin Feng exchanged glances. Then, they did not hesitate to jump down. The two of them were no strangers to the netherworld. Xiao Chen had once carried out a mission in the Heaven Dragon Hall and killed Rakshasa Tian's clone with one saber strike. However, at that time, he had gone to the 1st layer of the netherworld. This time, he was going to the even more dangerous 9th layer of the netherworld. As for Lin Feng, he was originally a flood dragon human and had been born in the netherworld since he was young. Coming here was like returning home. Looking at the two of them entering the abyss, Kuyun fell into deep thought before he shook his head and sighed. Soon, two figures descended from the sky. They were Swearen Ji and Mu Zifeng. Master Kuyun did not feel surprised at the two's appearance. He just nodded slightly to them. "Brother Mu, who do you think will bring back the holy relic in the end?" Mu Zifeng replied indifferently, "The abyssal underworld is very dangerous. Brother Swearen, you should be worried about whether they can return alive. As for finding the holy relic, they have failed for so many years. It would not be strange for them to fail again." Swearen Ji smiled and said, "Stop pretending. You and I both know that the chances of finding the holy relic this time are the highest. However, you are right. We still have to worry about whether Xiao Chen can return or not. That is the most important thing. After all, he has not even opened a divine vein." Lin Feng was once a sovereign emperor expert and grasped the Death Dao domain. He should not have to worry about self-preservation. Mu Zifeng's expression changed slightly. He smiled and said, "It looks like Brother Swearen thinks that Xiao Chen will definitely fall in the abyssal underworld. Let's see who can return alive at that time." The two clashed with each other, their words containing needles. After exchanging a few words, the atmosphere turned exceptionally hostile. Master Ku Yun did not find this strange. Suddenly, he raised his eyebrows and said, "The two of them have already arrived in the abyssal underworld. It is time to go." After saying that, Master Ku Yun left first, not lingering. Mu Zifeng and Swearen Ji both snorted coldly and left at the same time, not leaving any traces behind. At the bottom of the 10,000 demon abyss, Xiao Chen and Lin Feng landed one after another. When they looked around, they saw a desolate scene. Tall shrubs grew on the ground, and dark clouds hung in the sky. A blood moon hung high in the dark clouds. After landing, Xiao Chen sheathed his saber. His journey in the 10,000 demon abyss had not been smooth. There were many ferocious abyssal underworld creatures, especially vampire bats. There were so many of them that it was flabbergasting. If one was not careful, one would end up sucked dry. As Xiao Chen sized up his surroundings, he saw a gushing river at the limits of his vision. There seemed to be the silhouette of a city further away. With a thought, the yin and yang divine energy sea in Xiao Chen's time core flipped over. Now, the divine energy sea surging with demonic qi was revealed. Immediately, Xiao Chen's aura changed drastically. Xiao Chen's eyes turned pitch black, filled with a demonic nature. His entire body gave off an aura that could devour the world, inspiring fear. Xiao Chen could feel the demonic qi divine energy filling his meridians. A violent and bloodthirsty emotion spread throughout his body. This was the first time he allowed the demonic qi divine energy to occupy his physical body without holding anything back, so he was not used to it. After calming down for a while, Xiao Chen's mental state returned to normal. Now, he could deal with the demonic qi divine energy in his body, as well as the violent and bloodthirsty emotion. Lin Feng felt flabbergasted as he watched from the side. In the blink of an eye, it was like Xiao Chen had vanished. A bona fide demonic Dao sovereign emperor stood beside Xiao Chen, radiating a frightening aura from all over. "The two of you are too big of a target. Let's split up for now. We will meet at the final blood battlefield half a month from now." Lin Feng suddenly spoke before Xiao Chen could stabilize himself, startling him slightly. "All right. After thinking about it, separating for now was not a bad idea. So, Xiaochen nodded in agreement. As Xiaochen watched Lin Feng leave, he guessed that Lin Feng might be meeting some people or doing some other things in the abyssal underworld. After all, Lin Feng had grown up here and became a sovereign emperor here. This was fine. After all, Xiaochen could not figure out Lin Feng's thoughts. Furthermore, Lin Feng's Death Dao domain was extremely difficult to deal with. Anyone would be tired of being on guard all the time. Xiaochen changed into black clothes and a conical bamboo hat. Then, he got the demon blood vulture to perch on his shoulder. His getup was perfect. Xiaochen chose a different direction from Lin Feng, heading forward. The abyssal underworld had a total of 9 layers. The 9th layer was the most bustling. Aside from the Azura race, which controlled the 9th layer, the elite cultivators of the Rakshasa race and Yiksha race from the other layers gathered there. This was because the Underworld God Hall's main hall was in this 9th layer of the abyssal underworld. Aside from the abyssal underworld's races, there were also many human demonic Dao cultivators in this 9th layer of the abyssal underworld. Most of them were here on experiential training. The demonic Dao cultivators and the abyssal underworld cultivators cultivated very similar cultivation techniques. Hence, they frequently communicated with each other. Along the way, Xiaochen met with several demonic Dao cultivators. When the Azura race and the other abyssal underworld cultivators saw Xiaochen, they did not find him strange and did not give him a second look. There was no one in this place except for righteous Dao cultivators. Perhaps there were, but they disguised themselves better. The righteous Dao cultivators and the abyssal underworld's races could be considered mortal enemies. They had fought several times before, wanting to destroy the other side as soon as possible. Unlike Lin Feng, Xiaochen's understanding of the 9th layer of the abyssal underworld was limited to some information on paper. If Xiaochen wanted to reach the final blood battlefield, he needed to head to the nearest abyssal underworld city and obtain a map there. Otherwise, who knew how long it would take to find the final blood battlefield if he was blind? 4 hours later, Xiaochen arrived before the river at the limits of his vision. That was a scarlet river. The gushing river looked like the rough blood of a demonic beast, looking very uncomfortable. The gushing river was like the sea with horrifying waves. From time to time, layers of ghostly shadows would appear, causing people to tremble with fear. Xiaochen knew that this was the abyssal underworld's holy river. It held a high and sacred position in the hearts of the abyssal underworld's races. The holy river gushed all the way to the Azura Purgatory. The underworld god hall was above that Azura Purgatory. Even the abyssal underworld's races were not allowed to touch the holy river water. Only those with meritorious contributions or noble bloodlines could enjoy the baptism of the holy river. As for outsiders, that went without saying. Right now, Xiaochen was a demonic Dao cultivator. He could only obediently wait for the underworld boat on the other side to cross the river. Several cultivators already gathered at the pier. There were many Rakshasa, Yiksha, Azura, and demonic Dao cultivators. Most of them were only star venerates or holy venerates. Even sovereign personages were rare. Xiaochen spread out his aura slightly, attracting the attention of the crowd. This attracted the attention of the crowd. They kept their distance from him and looked at him with respect. Even the Azura cultivators, the masters of the 9th layer of the abyssal underworld, did not dare to show any disrespect or be impudent. In the abyssal underworld, the respect for the strong was exceptionally exaggerated. The underworld boat docked on the holy river. As long as Xiaochen did not leave, no one dared to move. After Xiaochen boarded, the cultivators behind him rushed to board the underworld boat. The surging river water surged. However, the underworld boat, which was not very large, moved against the current like it was on flat land. Xiaochen stood at the bow of the boat and looked at the river. The river was vast like the sea, boundless. Blood mist and ghostly figures filled the air. Occasionally, he heard the cries of infants and the wails of malicious spirits. That should be a demon blood vulture on that senior's shoulder, right? That should be it. What a strong demon blood vulture. Its bloodline is already starting to revert. How enviable. It would be great if I had such a demonic pet. Recently, many demonic Dao seniors have come to our 9th layer of the abyssal underworld. I wonder why they are here. Who knows? How can we be qualified to participate in the matters of these major characters? The cultivators whispered to each other as they looked at Xiao Qin at the bow. Their words were filled with awe and worship. Xiao Qin felt very satisfied with this. Before he came, he had learned that the abyssal underworld worshipped the strong. If he deliberately kept a low profile, he would end up attracting trouble. The races of the abyssal underworld were all hot-tempered, cold-blooded, and bloodthirsty people. It would be much more convenient to keep a low profile. Not only would no one dare to seek trouble for him, but it would also be more convenient. Greetings, senior. As Xiao Qin looked at the river, a trembling voice came from behind him. He turned his head and saw a young Azura race cultivator calling out to him. Chapter 2190. The Azura clan had a very interesting characteristic. The nobler the bloodline of this race, the better looking they were, and the higher their status. This was the case for both men and women. If you saw a member of the Azura clan with an ugly appearance, needless to say, his strength and talent would probably be average. This was a race that looked at appearances. With one look, one could tell the status and strength of the Azura race member. The young Azura race cultivator who appeared before Xiao Qin was rather handsome. He had a single horn on his head, snow-white hair, and a pair of eyes that looked like blood jades. What's the matter? Xiao Qin asked indifferently as he turned around. That Azura race cultivator calmed himself and said, I am Luoho Yun, from the Luoho clan, one of the 4 royal clans of the Azura race. I took the liberty of disturbing you because I want to get to know you. This underworld boat was forged by my Luoho clan. Under the cloak, Xiao Qin raised his eyebrows. Based on this person's appearance and the many cultivators behind him, it seemed like he was telling the truth. My family name is Xiao. Young Master Luoho is too polite. Seeing that Xiao Qin did not get angry, Luoho Yun rejoiced. Senior, please come with me. This is not a good place to speak. Xiao Qin followed the other party to the top of the underworld boat. Luoho Yun received Xiao Qin warmly. Luoho Yun took out some rare and precious fruits that contained a demonic nature and pure demonic spiritual energy. Xiao Qin glanced at them and thought to himself, I do not like these demonic nature fruits. However, if I don't eat them, I will easily expose myself. Left with no choice, I can only feed these abyssal underworld spirit fruits to the demon blood vulture on my shoulder. When Luoho Yun saw this scene, he felt shocked. Senior, do you normally use these 1,000-year-old demonic spirit fruits to feed the demon blood vulture? This was not wrong. After entering the Heavenly Alliance, the demon blood vulture only ate 1,000-year-old demonic spirit fruits under Senior Lu's nurturing. Xiao Qin did not deny it. He replied indifferently, it's all right. Luoho Yun felt somewhat flustered. To think that he took out the spirit fruits for feeding demonic pets to receive Senior Xiao. He quickly apologized, I was rude earlier. However, this underworld boat is very simple. I simply cannot take out any decent spirit fruits to receive Senior Xiao. I'm fine. Xiao Qin responded casually. For the time being, he would take it as learning about the Azura race. Among the many races in the netherworld, the Azura race seemed to have the highest status. Wuxia Xianxia, and the other layers of the netherworld were all servants of the Shura for a very long time. Later on, they slowly grew stronger. However, from the looks of it, even though there were some differences between the Nether Kings and none of them were willing to submit to each other, the Nether Kings were not willing to submit to each other. However, it was undeniable that the Azura race was still the strongest, and they controlled the underworld god hall. As they chatted idly, Xiao Qin brought the topic to the Final Blood battlefield to see if he could obtain any useful information. Final Blood battlefield? That place had not been peaceful recently. It was normally a forbidden area, and those who dared to go there were all experts. However, it seems like some incredible treasure appeared this time, attracting the experts of the 9 layers of the abyssal underworld over. There are also many demonic Dao experts from the Shuawu dynasty. When Luo Hoyun mentioned the final blood battlefield, excitement flashed in his eyes. However, he quickly extinguished it. Normally, Xiaochen could not go to the final blood battlefield. Now that it was so chaotic, he could not go. The genes of the Azura race flowed in their blood. They had an innate desire for battle and worshipped the strong. While the final blood battlefield was not peaceful, the more it was so, the more the Azura race cultivators would be curious and hot-blooded. However, Luo Hoyun was merely a Cloud Sea Star Venerate. Even if he went to the final blood battlefield, he could only wander around the periphery. If he dared to enter, there would be only one result, death. Xiaochen could not remain calm in his heart. Something appeared in the final blood battlefield. Could it be a dart head made of 7-color stone? Do you know what it is? Luo Hoyun shook his head and said, I'm not sure about that. However, the final blood battlefield was the decisive battlefield between the abyssal underworld and the Great Thousand Realms more than 4,000 years ago. Both sides suffered countless casualties. The only things that can be excavated are the remains of foe gods, soul tools, demonic weapons, and powerful treasures. Normally, most of them are incomplete fragments. I believe that a relatively complete soul tool or strange treasure was discovered this time. Perhaps it is some holy relic of our ancestors. That is all that can be excavated from the battlefield. It should not be natural treasures or rare fruits, right? This little fellow understood rather well. Indeed, that was all that could be excavated from the battlefield. However, Xiaochen had some misgivings in his heart. If the dart head was really exposed, his and Lin Feng's mission would be somewhat uncertain. After the underworld boat docked, Luo Hoyun invited Xiaochen to return to his clan with him, wanting to introduce him to his father. There were 4 Azura kings in the 9th layer of the abyssal underworld. The position of the 9th underworld monarch had always been passed between the 4 royal clans. Xiaochen guessed right. On the other hand, the demon blood vulture was like a fish in water here, incredibly happy. The demon blood vulture could swallow up all demonic nature. When it opened its beak and sucked, it was like swallowing a demonic spirit fruit. With the demon blood vulture as a means of transportation, Xiaochen had a much easier time in this forsaken place. There, in the depths of the final blood battlefield, a majestic and tyrannical figure appeared in the hazy dust cloud in the distance. The figure's eyes swept through the surroundings. Everyone who met its gaze trembled in fear, not daring to look at it for long. An ancient demonic sovereign. Xiaochen knew that should be where the ancient demonic sovereign fell. In the past few days, he had seen several abyssal underworld sovereign emperors and demonic Dao experts rushing over. Actually, deep in his heart, Xiaochen wanted to go and take a look. He had heard that no one had been able to get within 100 kilometers of the ancient demonic sovereign. Even though the ancient demonic sovereign died, the strong demonic gods might still lingered, making it hard for people to move. However, this had nothing to do with the mission, so he could only put it aside for now and not join in the excitement. After 2 months, Xiaochen still gained nothing in the final blood battlefield. He had no clue about the Heavenly Alliance's holy relic. The dry days could temper his mental state. Xiaochen discovered that even when he filled his entire body with demonic Dao divine energy, he could freely control his killing intent, rage, and all sorts of negative emotions in the final blood battlefield. During this time, Xiaochen even saved some demonic Dao experts and Azura race cultivators. Xiaochen gained some fame. Most of the cultivators who went to search for the ancient demonic sovereign's corpse knew about this loose cultivator. Although this loose cultivator had not opened any divine veins, he cultivated an extremely powerful demonic Dao cultivation technique. He was very strong and skilled in the ice Dao. His whip techniques were extremely strange. It looks like the thing that I feared the most has happened, Lin Feng said helplessly, sighing softly. The two had already searched every place in the final blood battlefield. Only the place where the ancient demonic sovereign's corpse was left unexplored. Clearly, the Heavenly Alliance's holy relic should be where the demonic sovereign's corpse was. Clearly, the Heavenly Alliance's holy relic should be where the demonic sovereign's corpse was. However, there were already many factions fighting over that place on the surface. It was chaotic, not to mention the experts hiding in the dark. I heard that with the various experts working together, they can already get within 10 kilometers of the demonic sovereign's corpse. Xiao Chen suggested softly, perhaps we can wait a little longer. After they deal with the demonic sovereign's corpse, we can make our move. It looks like that's all we can do. However, just at this moment, a strange light flashed in the two's eyes. Then, they each took out a jade strip. The jade strip flickered with a multicolored light. The two looked in the same direction at the same time. Lin Feng said sullenly, "That's impossible. I already searched that direction. How could the Heavenly Alliance's holy relic be found there? It is moving." Whoosh! The demon blood vulture flashed with light and turned into a beam of scarlet light, flying quickly in the air. Xiao Chen sat on the demon blood vulture's back and got it to quickly fly in the direction of the holy relic. In such an environment, the demon blood vulture was even faster than a regular sovereign emperor. It should be able to help Xiao Chen take the lead. However, Xiao Chen clearly underestimated Lin Feng. The instant Xiao Chen moved, Lin Feng stood on the demon blood vulture's back together with him. "Brother Lin, if this demon blood vulture carries 2 people, it will be slower," Xiao Chen said, feeling somewhat upset. Xiao Chen said somewhat unhappily. This fellow reacted rather quickly, directly jumping onto the demon blood vulture's back. This prevented Xiao Chen from making a move. Lin Feng glanced at Xiao Chen, showing an expression that said, "You understand, I understand, don't pretend to be confused." Then, he said indifferently, "That is still faster than me." When the holy relic appeared, whoever gained the initiative would definitely snatch it first. "Stop." Xiao Chen was about to say something when he sensed an extremely strong aura. He quickly ordered the demon blood vulture to stop flying in the clouds. Lin Feng frowned slightly as well. The two felt that something was wrong. When the two squinted, they saw a group of Azura race cultivators 500,000 kilometers below. Even the weakest of them was a sovereign personage. This was especially so for the person in the middle. His strength was extremely horrifying, at least a 3-vein sovereign emperor. Someone who could condense 3 divine veins was already extremely strong among sovereign emperors. 1 divine vein equaled 1 heaven. At the very least, the current Xiao Chen and Lin Feng were not a match for this person. Luoho's sovereign emperor. Lin Feng's expression changed slightly as he recognized this 3-vein sovereign emperor. It was an old acquaintance. Xiao Chen also recognized Luoho's sovereign emperor. Luoho's sovereign emperor rode a tall mutated beast. Another person rode a mutated beast beside him, walking shoulder to shoulder. This was Luoho Yun. After recognizing Luoho Yun, it was not hard to guess Luoho's sovereign emperor's identity. However, all this was not the important point. The important point was the Heavenly Alliance's holy relic. It was currently adorned as a crown on Luoho Yun's head. When Xiao Chen saw this, he could not help breaking down. It turned out that he had been working for nothing in the past 2 months. Someone had discovered the Heavenly Alliance's holy relic long ago. However, it seemed like these people did not know how miraculous the holy relic was. Chapter 2192. The holy relic that the Heavenly Alliance was searching for was actually an ornament on Luoho Yun's crown. Xiao Chen and Lin Feng didn't expect this at all. This meant that the sacred item had been discovered long ago. The two of them had been working hard for nothing. Lin Feng muttered, "Looks like this Luoho king is also here for the ancient demonic sovereign's corpse. As a loose cultivator, you should be able to sneak in. Wait for an opportunity to snatch the dart head, then leave immediately without caring about anything else." When Xiao Chen heard this, he felt somewhat helpless. Snatching the holy relic from Luoho Wang's side is easier said than done. With Luoho Wang's strength, even if we work together, we might not be able to defeat him. I can't care so much anymore. If you manage to snatch the relic, I'll cover for you. With our strength, it shouldn't be a problem for us to block him together. Lin Feng was very confident in his and Xiao Chen's strength. Then it's settled. Xiao Chen was also a decisive person. He couldn't think of any good ideas in such a short period of time. For now, he could only do this. Lin Feng turned around and leaped into the clouds, leaving Xiao Chen alone on the demon blood vulture's back. After thinking for a while, Xiao Chen got the demon blood vulture to turn into a beam of scarlet flame and purposely flew past Luoho Wang's group. Senior Xiao. Indeed, Luoho Yun, who was beside Luoho Wang, immediately shouted excitedly when he saw the demon blood vulture. Luoho Wang had a face even more handsome than Luoho Yun's. He raised his hand to stop the group from advancing. Then, he looked at the scarlet flame flying over and asked, Yunner, do you know that demonic cultivator? Luoho Yun nodded and said, Father, this is the senior Xiao that I told you about. I met him by chance on the underworld boat. Unexpectedly, we met again here. I wonder if he heard me calling out to him? Luoho Wang thought for a while before saying, the final blood battlefield is currently a gathering place. It is not surprising that this demonic cultivator is here. With his cultivation, he should have heard your voice. As for whether or not he will come to see you, that's hard to say. Luoho Yun rejoiced, in that case, Senior Xiao will definitely come. Luoho Wang shook his head, but he smiled and did not say anything. Devil cultivators were usually cold-blooded people who killed without batting an eyelid. How could they really have any friendship with you? Even if he came, it would be because of me, King Luoho. Xiao. The scarlet flame flashed, and the demon blood vulture carrying Xiao Chen flew back. Father, I told you. Senior Xiao will definitely return. Luoho Yun said joyfully, appearing very excited. King, should we stop him? Luoho Wang slightly waved his hand and said, let him come over. Divine Vein Realm's sovereign emperor experts would attract attention no matter where they went. Chapter 2194. The sky of the abyssal underworld was perpetually covered in dark clouds. Light rarely shone in the final blood battlefield. It seemed like time moved more slowly in such an environment. If one could not calm down, one would easily feel restless. This was the case for the eighth prince, Li Yun. When he saw the demonic might not weaken at all, he cursed, damn it. Why is it still not weakening? Old Tang, I can't wait any longer. Give me the sacred tool. Clearly lacking confidence, Elder Tang said, Your Highness, if the sacred tool forcibly breaks the demonic might, it will not last for long. If we wait for the demonic might to weaken before using the sacred tool, we will be able to obtain the demonic sovereign corpse. Wait. 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 How long? The longer we wait, the more variables there will be. This prince has already waited for more than 2 months. I can't wait any longer. Give me the sacred tool. The eighth prince said somewhat irritably, showing rage on his face. Elder Tang sighed. After thinking about it, this made sense. The longer he waited, the more variables there would be. Taking out the sacred tool in a situation that no one expected might have a miraculous effect. After consoling himself, Elder Tang took out the sacred tool. It was a strange weapon, the Scarlet Moon, a scimitar that looked like a crescent moon. The interior of the crescent moon was very complicated, looking like a skeleton connected together. The entire moon was close to 3 meters long, looking incredibly huge. It gave off a strange demonic might. Elder Tang showed a serious expression as he started to drive the Scarlet Moon. The divine characters on the skeleton seemed to come to life. Soon after, blood seeped out of the crescent moon. The entire moon looked like an ancient ferocious beast coming to life. Roar! In that instant, everyone in the entire final blood battlefield heard a terrifying, ferocious roar in their hearts. This is... Xiao Chen's body trembled slightly as shock flashed in his eyes. As he looked in the eighth prince's direction, he saw a scarlet moon slowly rising. At this moment, nearly all the factions in the final blood battlefield looked over. Indeed, he brought out the Xuewu dynasty's sacred tool, the Scarlet Moon. Luoho Wang muttered, not showing much surprise in his eyes. Scarlet Moon? What is that? A sovereign emperor at the side asked, feeling confused. Luoho Wang said softly, the dynasty's sacred tool is refined using a secret technique. I heard that the entire Xuewu dynasty refined only 10 of them. For a short period of time, it can make this saint tool reach the might of a peak medial grade soul tool. While Luoho Wang was speaking, the eighth prince also made his move. He pushed the blood-colored crescent wheel with all his might. Boom! The dazzling blood-colored divine energy turned into crescent scimitars that forcefully split apart the demonic might and carved out a path. So. Chapter 2195. The moment Luoho Wang appeared, his strong aura and vast accumulations as a three-veined sovereign emperor shocked everyone. When the two sovereign emperors charged over, no one dared to block them. Luoho Wang instantly inflicted severe injuries on some of the slower sovereign emperors, sending them flying back. Their survival was unknown. The strongest sovereign emperor present was only a two-veined sovereign emperor. As for Luoho Wang, he had been a three-veined sovereign emperor for many years. Of the 9 divine veins, every 3 was a threshold. If one could cross it, it would be a whole new world. If one could not, one would be stuck. While divine vein realm's sovereign emperors were said to have 9 grades, in reality, there were only 3. Within 3 divine veins, one would be considered a small perfection sovereign emperor. After 3 divine veins, one would be considered a great perfection sovereign emperor. After 6 divine veins, one would be considered a consummation late-stage sovereign emperor. Luoho Wang's 3-vein cultivation could be said to be at peak small perfection. He had been stuck at this bottleneck for many years. Unless a great perfection sovereign emperor appeared, no one would be a match for him in a one-on-one fight. Although there were many sovereign emperors present, most of them fought for themselves, like a plate of loose sand. Shocked by Xiao Chen's aura, how could they dare to stop him? Luoho Wang only had one target, which was Li Yun, who had the dynasty's saint weapon on his head. His goal was even simpler, to kill him and seize the ancient demonic monarch's true god flame. But it wasn't easy to make it a reality. After all, Li Yun had used his own strength to block the terrifying attacks of 10 odd sovereign emperors earlier. The strength of a sage artifact was evident. When he saw Luoho Wang appear, a trace of undetectable panic flashed across Li Yun's arrogant eyes. He wasn't sure if the sage artifact could stop Luoho Wang, who was at the peak of 3 meridians. His fate would be even more miserable. It was hard to say whether he could even withstand 3 moves from Luoho Wang. Insignificant prince, how dare you behave atrociously in my Azura underworld? Quickly scram. Otherwise, don't blame this king for not giving the Xuewu dynasty face. Luoho Wang's handsome face was overflowing with domineering aura. His eyes were filled with shocking killing intent. The accumulations of a king's might unintentionally spread out, causing Li Yun to feel immense pressure and even waver. However, when Xiao Chen thought about it, he remembered that he had Yan Sangming's help in secret. It was not impossible for him to fight. Furthermore, the demonic king's fire of the true god was his only chance to make a comeback. He could not give it up. Having made up his mind, Li Yun's heart no longer wavered. He bellowed, "Today, even if the king of hell from the 9th level of the underworld comes, don't dream of making me retreat." Luoho Wang, since you dared to show yourself, then I shall have a taste of your Azura tactics. Under the blood moon, only I am supreme. Li Yun shouted and pushed the might of the sage tool to its limits. The scarlet moon above his head looked like a blood moon hanging high in the sky. The image of a dynasty quickly materialized on the back of the moon wheel. Rumble. The foundation of the ancient dynasty was activated by Li Yun at this moment. A shocking demonic might erupted from his body, as though he had grown tens of thousands of feet tall. Woo! Screams of agony echoed in the air. The savage beasts that Luoho Wang and the other two were riding on suddenly died. Luoho Wang's indomitable aura was actually forcefully forced back. Their auras clashed, and this part of the world began to tremble. Woo 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 woo. The countless ancient war souls that had settled in the final blood battlefield for 10,000 years seemed to be startled awake. True cries came from the depths of the ground. There were even war drums that transcended time and space, sounding like thunder, ringing out endlessly. This made one's bloodline swell, and their battle hunger and souls burned. I'll deal with this fellow. The two of you, go to the demonic sovereign's corpse. Luoho Wang instructed, getting his two sovereign emperor subordinates to stop Li Yun's subordinates from attacking the ancient demonic sovereign's corpse. You want to get past me? Forget about it. Lonesome Moon lives alone. When Li Yun saw the situation, he immediately attacked, wanting to block the two sovereign emperors. Boom! The moon will send out a scarlet light, encasing the two. Then, Li Yun threw two palm strikes. The thousands of scarlet shadows in his palms immediately turned into layers of crescents, charging at the two Azura sovereign emperors. The crescents were like blood. As they spun, light and shadow changed. Scarlet light flickered endlessly within 5,000 kilometers. Earlier, these thousands of crescent moons blocked the many sovereign emperors, making them flustered and fatigued from dealing with them. Every crescent looked like a true blood moon, containing the vast might of a dynasty. With the support of the scarlet light, Li Yun's Dao domain reached peak third layer, appearing startlingly mighty. Luoho Wang snorted coldly, and a slender saber appeared in his hand. As the saber light moved, a force that could uproot mountains and rivers erupted from Luoho Wang's body. With his strong three-veined sovereign emperor cultivation, he forcefully broke these two terrifying palm strikes. The two Azura sovereign emperors quickly took advantage of this opportunity to get under the ancient divine emperor. Elder Tang and the others felt shocked. They had no choice but to stop what they were doing and fight these two Azura sovereign emperors. Damn it! Luoho Wang, you spoiled my plans. I'll fight it out with you. Sensing Luoho Wang's strength, a crazed look flashed in Li Yun's eyes. His figure flashed, and he actually took the initiative to attack Luoho Wang. Luoho Wang's expression did not change as he dealt with Li Yun calmly. It would not be easy to deal with this crazed Li Yun, who wielded a sacred tool. The two of them quickly clashed, and a terrifying shockwave rippled out continuously. The other spectating sovereign emperors immediately moved back. Of these two, one was a three-veined sovereign emperor, and the other was a madman wielding a dynasty's sacred tool. Neither was easy to deal with. No one dared to interfere in the huge battle. The scattered shock waves were not easy to deal with. Xiao Chen's expression changed slightly. He was already certain that aside from the experts of the Rakshasa race and the Yiksha race, there were definitely righteous Dao cultivators among the loose cultivators in disguise. When those loose cultivators retreated earlier, Xiao Chen had sensed a familiar aura. However, he could not recall where it was. Let's go. Not daring to take the risk, Xiao Chen led Luoho Yun far away. The Rakshasa race and the Yiksha race still harbored the thought of Luoho Wang and Li Yun injuring each other and taking advantage of the situation. Hence, they did not retreat far. Xiao Chen felt that something was wrong. He did not want to target that ancient demonic sovereign either. So, he led Luoho Yun far away, continuously retreating. Senior, I want to see my father. I don't want to leave. Luoho Yun was worried about his father's safety, so he resisted somewhat. However, Xiaochen could not be bothered to explain, forcefully pulling him far away. They kept retreating until they were 500,000 kilometers away. Even then, they could still hear the earth-shaking sounds of battle. Little Prince, stop messing around. Mr. Xiao is doing this for Little Prince's safety. Luoho Yun only stopped after retreating 100,000 kilometers. The group of sovereign personage guards quickly consoled Luoho Yun, who had been making a fuss along the way. Luoho Yun's eyes turned somewhat moist. I don't care. I want to see my father. I don't want anything to happen to him. I want to go back. As Luoho Yun spoke, he actually started crying. The group of sovereign personage guards could not do anything, feeling somewhat flustered. Xiaochen could no longer stand by and watch. He ferociously stretched out his hand and flung Luoho Yun off the savage beast's back, causing Luoho Yun to fall heavily to the ground. You are a man. What is the point of crying? If you go back, you will die. If you want to die, I will kill you now. Xiaochen snorted coldly and released his killing intent, scaring the group of sovereign personage guards. Luoho Yun also panicked. Mr. Xiao, don't be angry. Little Prince lost his mother when he was young. He grew up with King Luoho and had a deep relationship with him. It is hard to avoid some. The group of sovereign personage guards quickly explained, thinking that Xiaochen really wanted to kill. Xiaochen sighed when he heard that. Then, he said softly, since your father handed me to you, I have to take responsibility for you. The demonic sovereign corpse land is much more complicated than you imagine. You are just a star venerate. Going there is simply seeking death. In the end, Luoho Yun was not a fool. After being scared by Xiaochen, he recovered his wits. However, he asked, Senior, will my father be fine? Xiaochen did not feel confident. If he really had confidence in Luoho Wang, he would not have retreated so far away. Xiaochen had made such a decision because he felt that something was wrong. That should be the case. Luoho Wang is a three-veined sovereign emperor. It should not be difficult for him to survive, that was all Xiaochen could say. Right after he spoke, he suddenly felt the dynasty's accumulations in the distant scarlet moon weaken for a moment. This is... Not caring much, Xiaochen opened a vertical eye on his forehead under the conical bamboo hat, activating his heavenly eye. Xiaochen's vision continuously expanded. Finally, the scene of the demonic sovereign corpse land appeared before him. Cracks appeared in the scarlet moon above Li Yun's head. The dynasty's sacred tool seemed to be on the verge of breaking. Xiaochen immediately rejoiced. Something must have happened when Li Yun forcefully broke the demonic might. Otherwise, the dynasty's sacred tool would not have lasted until now. Li Yun's crazed expression instantly paled in fright. He cursed as though he was trying to say who betrayed him. Seeing that he could not defeat Luoho Wang and that the sacred tool could not hold on any longer, Li Yun merged the sacred tool into his body and retreated quickly. Luoho Wang snorted coldly. Then, he wanted to pursue and kill Li Yun in one go. However, just at this moment, something strange happened. Xiaochen's heavenly eye suddenly felt a piercing light, and a trace of blood appeared. Xiaochen gritted his teeth and grunted. Then, he quickly closed his heavenly eye, showing an uncertain expression. The instant the intense light appeared, Xiaochen saw the person who attacked. It was the profound heaven's holy son, Wenrenyu. Mu Yunzhu and Gu Yuhan, who had conflicts with Xiaochen in the faux god world, stood beside Wenrenyu. When the three worked together, they seemed to activate some kind of secret treasure, instantly erupting with a Dao might that surpassed that of the dynasty's sacred tool. No one had expected such a scene to unfold. Although Luoho Wang had been wary of others attacking in secret, he relaxed his guard when he saw Li Yun's defeat. Furthermore, he had not expected such a strong attack. Although Xiaochen did not see what happened later, he could guess what happened.